conversation. We have a lot to get to this afternoon. First, let's talk about the sentencing hearing that's underway for Colt Gray. The 16-year-old pleaded guilty last week to the deadly 2024 Apalachee High School shooting. Today, a judge could decide if Gray gets life behind bars with or without the possibility of parole. Now, on Friday, Gray pleaded guilty in a non-negotiated plea deal, a non-negotiated deal to 55 charges. We know that 4 people were killed and 9 others were hurt in this shooting. 2 teachers killed and 2 students. On the stand this morning, Marietta Dr. Kevin Richards, he's a forensic psychologist, took the stand. He was asked to perform an evaluation on Colt. He testified that Colt was involved in an online community for people obsessed with mass shootings and even sent some weird messages to one member in the days leading up to the school shooting. Richard also discussed Gray's mental health struggles. Let's take a listen.
Yeah, I think so. Again, you're not talking about somebody who did this in their mid-20s, late 20s, or as an adult, when there could be characterological issues underlying that are kind of well developed. The personality is finished, the brain is finished, and sometimes if you end up in a situation with an older person where there's characterological issues that drive them to do things that are antisocial, there's sometimes not a lot you can do about that. I think when you're dealing with kids and adolescents, there's still some room before things are consolidated, before they're finished, before they're finished developing, you can intervene in a meaningful way to try and help them develop, more healthy coping skills or address some of those symptoms. So, yeah, sure.
And again, you just heard from forensic psychologist Dr. Kevin Richards. We do expect more evidence to come forward in this hearing as it continues. And again, Judge Nicholas Prim will decide if Colt will spend life behind bars with or without the possibility of parole. His father, Colin Gray, who was also found guilty on a slew of charges, including murder, will be sentenced on Thursday. And we'll keep you updated on these stories as we continue to follow them. Well, a vigil has marked 5 years since the murder of Katie Janness. Let's get into this story. Tomorrow will actually mark 5 years since the woman and her dog were brutally murdered in Piedmont Park. Last night, the vigil was held. Friends and loved ones got together to remember her as the crime remains unsolved today. People came together last night at Piedmont Park, and they brought attention to her unsolved murder. In July of 2021, Katie and her dog Bowie were both savagely stabbed to death in the park. Their bodies tragically discovered by Katie's partner, who went looking for her after they never returned from a late-night walk. And nearly 5 years later, no arrest has been made. No suspect, description, or motive for the crime has been released. When Katie was murdered, there were no working security cameras in Piedmont Park, which many people have come to the front to speak out about. That has changed along with other measures taken to make the park safer. But we'll update you if they do get any new developments out of this story. Tomorrow does mark 5 years since she was murdered. Our time here is 1:03. Let's talk about what Fox 5 is working on and bring in our assignment manager, Tanya Mendoza. Tanya, thanks so much for joining us to talk about these stories. This first one is pretty scary here. It came from the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office, but it originated right here in Georgia.
That's right. So earlier in July, actually July 16th is when this actually happened. And I did a little digging after this video was posted on the Facebook page of the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office out of Florida. So it was all over social media, and it's because they posted it after they rescued a 13-year-old girl that was kidnapped from Georgia. They found her and rescued her from a Jacksonville motel room. And let's take a look at this dramatic video and listen in. So I'm not sure if the audio is playing, but you can see how dramatic it is. They go to arrest 2 people, and then it looks like the person tries going off with the car, and you can read the subtitles. I don't know if you see the subtitles there, but basically at the end of it, which was interesting, what I thought was interesting in the video, the SWAT officer says to one of the suspects about the dumbest thing you could have done, and then he says, enjoy the next chapter of your life. So that's what happened. So when I read this release on their Facebook page, I saw that they said the GBI and FBI were taking the lead on the case. And I just wanted to know, like a lot of Georgians wanted to know, where in Georgia did this girl get kidnapped from? So I did a little digging. I reached out to the GBI. They told me it was actually from the Baxley Police Department, the city of Baxley in Georgia's police department. So I called over to the police department and talked to the police chief. He sent me over a press release, and he said over the phone as well that it sounds like the child's biological mother, who had no rights, no custody, no rights to her, showed up at a house in Baxley with a knife and removed the child from the house. Then they ended up in Jacksonville, Florida, which is where the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office was able to apprehend the mother, biological mother, Giovanni Carter, and a man by the name of Jonathan Kelly. And they're now facing multiple charges. Jasmine?
Yes, Tanya. So I was able to listen to this video over the weekend. Pretty dramatic scene, like you said. Glad that this teen who was kidnapped in Baxley, Georgia, is now safe. And that was a big question we had over the weekend. Where in Georgia was she kidnapped? But glad you were able to do some digging and figure out that information.
Yes, I did. And we don't have a reporter on this today, but I just thought we should mention it because it's all over social media and a lot of people were talking about it this morning and over the weekend. So I just wanted to update our viewers on this story and where the girl was missing from, like you just mentioned.
And now, Tanya, this is another story, and we're seeing new video today of this rescue from the Chattahoochee River embankment over the weekend.
That's right. So Ray Yadena is working on this story, and he's talking to the Atlanta fire rescue crew that rescued 6 people who were trapped along the Chattahoochee River Saturday. It happened in northwest Atlanta near the East Palisades entrance to the river. Atlanta Fire Rescue shared this video of crews on a boat with those stranded people who were found underneath a nearby bridge. Officials say the people got stranded after an inflatable raft that they were on hit a tree and popped as a result. A swift water rescue team based out of the Atlantic Station area responded to help these people and get them back to safety. Let's listen into sound from Fire Rescue Captain Andrew Anderson about this.
After a heavy rain, the currents that you may not be aware of or used to are a lot stronger. And what you are expecting when you get in the water, you're gonna feel that water pushing a lot stronger, and even a really talented swimmer can succumb to an undercurrent like that.
Okay, so basically they want to remind people as well that wear your life jackets and stay away from the water after heavy rain. Jasmine?
Yeah, that is pretty scary, but something to keep in mind. Some good words there from Captain Andrew Anderson on just being aware how weather can impact the water. And so that is
scary.
Yes.
Can you imagine being on the river and that happening to you?
Oh my goodness, I can't imagine.
They're so lucky. They are so lucky that they were able to communicate and get through via 911 and to the fire department and to be rescued. So that's an amazing rescue story. I'm so happy that Ray followed up this morning to talk to the crews that actually put in all the effort to save them.
And we don't know if any of the 6 adults rescued here had to receive medical treatment. We haven't gotten that information, but I'd really like to hear from one of these survivors about their experience as well.
Yes, absolutely. I'm sure Ray's going to try to find some of the survivors as well.
And let's talk about this story too. It is very positive here. A person who was diagnosed with cancer got to run in the Ironman.
That's right. So this came from Doug Evans, and he was talking about it in our morning editorial meeting. And it came, I guess the people over at Piedmont Fayette Hospital told him about it, and he's followed up and is actually interviewing this man, 42-year-old Aaron Wright of Fayetteville. There's this picture right there. He was diagnosed with advanced colon cancer in 2022. Get this. He finished his post-cancer Ironman last fall and is now mentoring others in their cancer journey. Now, it's important to say, apparently he was very active and had been an the Ironman before, but now he's done it post-cancer, and it's a very inspirational story. He's helping others. Doug Evans is interviewing him, and he'll have more on that story later. Jasmyn?
Yes, can't wait to see this story from our Doug Evans. Thanks so much, Tanya, for joining us to talk about what Fox 5 is working on. We'll let you get back to work. And let's take a live look outside now at the stadium and talk about weather. It's been a bit rainy. I stepped outside not too long ago, and my car was wet. So I know that there's a lot happening with weather today. So let's talk to our meteorologist, Alex Forbes, about what you can expect.
Yeah, so it stormed across a good part of the area here this morning, and it was really interesting to see. I just put something up on my Facebook page. You know, we always get comments of
yeah,
okay, yeah, you know, it stormed, and then other people were like, oh, it's dead wrong, right? Like, you were just wrong. Well, it did storm across a large part of the area. But let me show you Fox 5 Live Viper. We've seen the last of the rain fade away, but let me turn on the 24-hour rainfall here, and what you're going to see is where it rained and where it didn't rain. So I was using Gwinnett County as an example earlier. In fact, let me flip this back over. What I'm going to do is go back to the radar here and say, let's say about 10:30 this morning, right? So if you're in Snellville and south of Snellville, it was really loud and you were hearing thunder. You got a decent amount of rain and it stormed there. Meanwhile, up near Mulberry, it like didn't rain at all. So that is the difference of only, 10 miles, right? 12 miles of the haves and the have-nots across the metro area. So when all was said and done, here's where the rainfall ended up. Anything that's in that green color or darker, that's at least a half inch of rain. Anything that's yellow or darker, so down here in the Fairburn area, Palmetto, that is over 2 inches of rain. And then we add another batch of it over into DeKalb County. You might remember we had a flash flood warning in DeKalb. That has since been canceled. So I said earlier until 4:45, I was a little suspect of that. But that's the way things stand right now. Over the last little while, let me show you how all of this progressed. It was this morning that we were tracking storms back up into Tennessee and in towards Alabama. The core ended up moving to the south through Alabama like that, but there was an outflow boundary that extended into Georgia, and it's that outflow boundary that ended up firing up the showers and storms for part of the area today. For the remainder of the day, we will still have a couple showers around, but I would expect it to be predominantly partly cloudy to mostly clear. Temperatures getting into the 90s, looking for 93 in Atlanta today. 94 in Covington, 95 in Eatonton, 94 in Athens. But let me highlight tomorrow, 95, your high temperature there. It is going to feel like 105, 106, 107. I said earlier on the news at noon that people joke that cold weather is soup weather. I say that this is soup weather because it's going to feel like soup outside on Tuesday. Do see a break from the humidity there on Thursday and Friday before showers and storms return for the weekend.
All right, Alex, thanks so much for joining us to talk weather. Looking forward to the temperatures in the 90s. That's my type of forecast. Our time here on Fox Local is 1:13. Let's talk about the lottery. So if you play the lottery, you want to hear this story. Two big lottery jackpots are growing after there were no winners for the Mega Millions or the Powerball. Now the Mega Millions jackpot is up to $800 million. It's the largest jackpot since last November and the 10th largest in history. The next drawing for the Mega Millions is tomorrow, but tonight is another shot at the Powerball with the jackpot at $633 million. So very exciting. Might need to go to a local grocery store or gas station to play the lottery and hopefully, win these big bucks. Time is 1:14. We're back with more, some back to school topics after this. Welcome back to our news conversation here on Fox Local. I'm Jasmyn Cornell. We're streaming here on Fox Local, but also on social media. So feel free to weigh into this conversation. It's back to school time. As young athletes head back to the classrooms and the fields, it's important to talk about concussions, what parents need to know, and why they can happen in just about any sport. So Dr. Ashley Brulette, a sports medicine physician at CHOA, is here to talk about this. Thanks so much for joining us, Dr. Brulette.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So first, let's get into the basics here. What exactly is a concussion and how does it happen?
Yeah, so a concussion is really a very temporary type of brain injury. So what happens is there's either a direct blow to the head, either from head-to-head contact, we see elbows to heads, head to ground, or it can actually be a hit to the trunk that can actually cause almost a whiplash type effect in the brain where there's sudden rotational or back and forth movement of the head that can result in injury to the brain. Again, this is a temporary injury, but still something that's really important for us to look for.
And what are some of the signs and symptoms, Dr. Brulette, parents should watch out for?
Yeah, so the signs and symptoms of concussion can be really vast. You know, we think about traditional things such as headaches that kind of comes immediately to mind, but it can also be your kid can be more easily frustrated. They can have trouble focusing in school more than they did before, changes in sleeping, either more or less. Some kids get really dizzy and they feel off balance, or they just feel slow and groggy. And then also nausea, vomiting, things like that can all be signs of something. Even younger kids can get this as well. So things like they want to be held more, things like that could potentially be a sign.
And we hear a lot about baseline testing, Dr. Brulette. What is the impact evaluation and why is it so valuable?
Yeah, so the impact test is one of many what we call neuropsychological tests, which essentially establish a baseline of how the brain is functioning. It looks at things like memory, reaction time, motor speed that can be affected by concussion. I explain concussion as a car. If your car's out of gas, if you pop the hood, it still looks like a car. It's just not going anywhere. So same thing with the brain. We can do all of these imaging studies, but usually they just show us you have a brain, not how it's working. So if we can establish a baseline, that helps us gauge how you're doing in terms of your recovery.
And when a student athlete or when anyone gets a concussion, what does treatment typically look like?
Yeah, so the most important thing with a concussion is making sure that we avoid things that can cause impact to the brain. So that's why we hold people out of sports, is because we want to make sure we don't put the brain at any further risk. And then it's all about symptom control. So what we do is we provide modifications for school, because we do still want kids going to school, but modified so that their grades don't suffer because of this. And really then making sure we fuel the brain just like we would fuel a car. So making sure we're getting plenty of sleep, getting enough hydration. I tell my patients at least 64 ounces of water a day, but more is better, as well as eating regularly. So fats, carbs, proteins, things like that are all going to be really important to refuel the brain and allow it to recover.
And, you know, how do you determine when a student is ready to return to sports after having a concussion?
Yeah, so, you know, if we have a baseline impact score, we can impact test them in the office and see if they're at their baseline. If they've never had one, we can still use that as a general guideline, but essentially want a kid to be back to their baseline, so symptom-free for them. So kids who naturally have things like ADHD, they're going to have trouble focusing anyways, but I need them to have their baseline trouble focusing. I need them back to not having headaches unless they had pre-existing migraines. Then I want them at their normal level of headache. But once someone is fully recovered, then we start to do a progression back to sport. So I tell them I need them normal at home, then normal at school, then it's safe to try to return to sport. And we use a very gradual increase in physical activity to ensure that the symptoms stay away as they progress back.
And now what should families know about the Georgia's Return to Play Act of 2013?
Yeah, so the Georgia Return to Play Act was established to try to protect children and their brains. I tell my patients I can fix broken leg, but not broken brain. So what it does is it establishes an expectation that, one, everybody is being educated about this and receives information when their kids sign up for sports. And then also it establishes that if somebody has symptoms of a concussion, that they need to be evaluated by a healthcare provider. That includes doctors, nurse practitioners, PAs, as well as our athletic trainers that are often on the sidelines at our games. Those are all qualified healthcare professionals to diagnose and treat. And then once they're diagnosed, if they are diagnosed, they have to then be cleared again by a medical professional to return. And it is essentially establishing that, hey, it's a no-go. Even if you are a really valuable player for your team, we value your brain and your health more. So it's essentially establishing guidelines and expectations for what that return to play looks like and how we protect people.
And Dr. Brulette, many people associate concussions with football, but that's not the whole story. So which other sports carry a concussion risk that might surprise parents?
So we actually see concussion from everything, lacrosse balls to the head. I've seen it in swimming where people are doing backstroke and mince count strokes from the flags and they hit their head doing backstroke or things like that. So really any sport and any activity can make this happen. I've seen people, they just hit their head wrong doing normal everyday activities, just happen to hit it hard enough and wrong to do it. So while we think about football, it's really important to be aware in all sports that, soccer, football, basketball, lacrosse, dance, cheer is a huge one that we see it in.
Yeah, I was going to say. Yeah, I was a college cheerleader, and so I got a concussion, but a lot of us got concussions during practice while cheering. So it is very important to know know that it affects athletes in various sports. But I do want to ask you, I know our time is coming to an end here. What are some of the differences between girls and boys? How can concussions affect boys differently than girls?
Yeah, so, a lot of times we see a little bit more of the more emotional symptoms with girls. People can have a little more anxiety, irritability, although I do see a fair amount of that actual irritability with my young men. But also with the female athletes, we tend to see a little bit more of the headaches and a little bit more of the irritability kind of symptoms where they're a little more anxious, a little more depressed or kind of sad, or that emotional lability where they just seem to be vacillating from one end of the spectrum to another. But really any symptoms can affect any kid, and each concussion in one kid, if they've had one before, their next concussion can look dramatically different. And so that's really what we see, is that it can be really variable.
Dr. Brulette, thanks so much for joining us to talk about this very important conversation. We hope you have a great rest of your day.
Thanks, you as well.
And guys, I was Dr. Ashley Brulette with Children's Healthcare of Atlanta talking about some very important topics here. And I was just looking in the comments on Facebook and just seeing some of the things that you all are saying on social media in general. One viewer saying, I had one concussion many years ago and it was horrible. Lots of doctor's appointments and therapy. So yes, this was very glad to have Dr. Brulette on here on the stream to have this conversation about concussions and what parents need to know and how we can minimize the risks. Our time is 1:24. We're back with a look at our top stories after this. Thanks for joining our news conversation here at 126. I'm Jasmyn Cornell. Let's get into some of our top stories. First, it's been 30 years since the deadly Centennial Olympic Park bombing. The bombing happened on July 27th in 1996, and you're taking a look at video from that day. This was during the Summer Olympic Games held right here in Atlanta. 2 people died and more than 100 other people were hurt. Security guard Richard Jewell spotted a suspicious package and alerted the GBI. He and other law enforcement cleared the area. Now, federal authorities originally named Jewell as a person of interest in the bombing, but he was later cleared by the FBI. Authorities then named Eric Robert Rudolph on your screen there as the bombing suspect in 1998. He remained on the run until 2003 when police captured him in North Carolina. 2 years later, he pleaded guilty to the crime, and he has pleaded guilty to other bombings, one being in Birmingham, Alabama. But it's been 30 years. This traumatic situation still, people are still remembering and recalling what happened that day. And moving forward to Seattle, at least 3 people are dead and 4 people are injured after a shooting at a festival in Seattle. Thousands had gathered for the annual Bite of Seattle Food and Music Festival near the Space Needle when gunshots rang out, sending this massive crowd running for cover. Police say 2 men were involved in a gunfight. 1 young adult is in custody, but the other shooter remains at large. 2 victims were declared dead at the scene. A 3rd died in the hospital. Officials say 4 other victims all suffered gunshot wounds, including a toddler. So the victims who were injured, their ages range from 2 years old to 39 years old. Meanwhile, in international headlines, in Germany, German police have shot and killed a suspect in a deadly attack near a Berlin Pride parade. Officials say they opened fire at the suspect, who is a German citizen with Lebanese roots, when he rushed toward them with a knife. He died at the scene. The 21-year-old suspect, he was driving a van into a crowd, they say, on Saturday near the parade route before stabbing people with a machete and what authorities believe was an Islamic terrorist attack. At least 1 person was killed and more than 24 people injured. Police say the suspect was known to authorities and was previously convicted of attempting to join ISIS. And in May, he was handed a suspended sentence and released pending appeal after the court determined that he distanced himself from the militant group. Hundreds of thousands came to went to Berlin to celebrate Pride this past Saturday. Some have been gathering at a memorial in the city to remember the victims. Our time is 1:29, almost 1:30. Let's talk about what's trending here on Fox Local and on our website, fox5atlanta.com, and bring in Fox 5's digital content creator, Janae C. Oliver. Janae, thanks so much for joining us to talk about these stories.
Hi, Jasmine. Glad to be here.
So this first story broke overnight. We know that Atlanta fire crews responded to a fire. Let's get into this first.
Yeah. That's right. Atlanta fire crews had to rush to fight a heavy house fire Sunday night. In under 20 minutes, crews knocked down heavy flames at a vacant home off Woodward Avenue, and we still don't know the exact cause of the fire, but officials note that this is at least the 3rd time the property has burned, and so this has sparked an arson investigation.
Yes, and that's the big news here, that officials have seen a fire at this location other times, but no one was hurt in this instance. But the big question is, why have we seen multiple fires at this location? And hopefully we can find out some more information on it. Let's talk about this other story. First, the shark attack. That was so crazy and so scary, but I'm glad that this man is safe and his pregnant fiance is safe as well.
Yes, truly a testament of resilience. 22-year-old Ja'Cory High of Henry County is recovering after saving his pregnant fiancee from a shark attack in Daytona Beach. After being bit by the shark himself, High's focus remained on pushing his fiancee to safety and then fought off the animal in shallow water. He underwent surgery for severe foot damage and now faces a 3-month recovery, but he says that he hopes it didn't really mess up anything important in his foot so he can get back to work.
Yeah, I listened to his interview from earlier, and he is definitely ready to get back to work. And hopefully he does not have any long-term complications from this incident, but it's pretty scary. He said he was in shallow water, and the shark just came out of nowhere. So hopefully he gets well soon and recovers quickly. But you know, it's glad to know. I'm glad to know that he and his fiance are safe. Let's talk about this lighter story here. So Angel Reese now has a Barbie that we all can go buy.
Yes, Barbie has always been about breaking boundaries, and Angel Reese is showing young girls that their dreams have no limits. Mattel has unveiled a signature Angel Reese Barbie doll, and Reese celebrated her Barbie moment at WNBA All-Star Weekend in everything pink. She showed off a custom dress, a matching Coach handbag, and pink hair styled by Atlanta's own Dynamic Lush by Jamal Bryce. But that's not all, because fans can celebrate the release in person on August 3rd. The Atlanta Dream host Barbie Game Day at State Farm Arena against the Las Vegas Aces. Plus, her matching Reebok sneakers dropped to the public that same day.
And so congratulations to Angel Reese for her accomplishments. She is inspiring many, many athletes. Do you watch basketball any? Do you pay attention to Angel Reese?
Yes, I love it. I love to see her growth from the collegiate level to now, you know, the Bayou Barbie nickname just translating to Atlanta's Dream House is what I know her fans call it. So it's been really nice to see.
Awesome. Well, Janae, thanks so much for joining us to talk about these top stories, what's trending on Fox Local and on Fox5Atlanta.com. Hopefully we can get our hands on that Angel Reese Barbie. I want to take you live out to an event that's happening right now. So we're waiting for President Trump to speak here at this event in Michigan. So let's go ahead and bring in that live picture. The crowd, of course, is waiting for the president. This is happening at the General Motors facility. He's expected to tout his handling of the economy, defend sweeping tariffs, and much more. You see the crowd standing up, and it looks like someone is coming up on stage. Can't quite see who that is just yet. But again, we do expect President Trump to speak at this event in Milford, Michigan. Let's take a little listen to what's happening really quickly.
Lorenzo, and with that, let's begin the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Please welcome Ian Shetron for the national anthem.
And you just heard they're getting ready to do the national anthem. But again, we do expect the president to speak here soon at the General Motors facility in Michigan. This is Milford, Michigan. And so we'll bring this to you live if the president does come out. But I do want to come out of this while they're doing the national anthem. So we'll bring that to you live if it happens, again, if the president takes a stand before the show ends. Our time is 1:35. We're back with more news after this. Welcome back. Let's talk about this wonderful opportunity that is out of Cumming, Georgia. So as a wave of skilled construction workers nears retirement, a North Georgia internship program is introducing Gen Z to careers in the trades to help build the industry's future. Our Chris Rosenthal joins us live with more on this opportunity, again, out of Cumming, Georgia. Chris, so glad to see you in your hat, ready to work.
Yeah, ready to work, out here working on the job site here at Wake Farm. This is a residential home development here in Cumming, and by Taylor Morrison. And yeah, there are estimates that about 40% of skilled labor will be retiring by 2031. Not enough people coming in on the back end to replace them. So that's why Taylor Morrison's having interns and really trying to fill that gap. And I've got Eric here. He's one of the project managers here on site here. And tell me, you're on the job out here on the front lines of it, if you will. And what are you seeing as far as the shortages and the demands that are coming up in the industry?
So it's definitely, like you said, just a shortage of, in management side, the guys our age is generally about 40-something years old is the average age of a project manager. So we're trying to bring in the younger guys to be able to keep the tradition going, keep the business flowing. I think I read a little while back where it was like an average of 5 guys retire, 1 person replaces them. So we're having to reach out to all the local colleges and different schools, trade schools, to bring in the younger people. It's where we started this intern program for.
Yeah, and what sort of opportunities lie ahead for interns to get involved at this point?
So like out here with Taylor Morrison, we bring them in, we take them through all the different parts of our business. We put them in every different department, whether it was marketing, purchasing, land acquisition, out here in the field with us, construction guys, and then they have the opportunity to decide which way they want to go with their career.
And speaking of which way to go, I think there's a lot of stigma a lot of times with the construction field, but some of this is about breaking down those barriers, huh?
Yeah, most people think construction, so you think you're out here slinging a hammer or pushing a wheelbarrow, those kinds of things, always work it out in the heat, in the dirt. It's not technically always what it is. On our side, we're management, so we manage the properties. We're managing each individual trade, we're managing the customers, the material, the supply chains, everything.
Gotcha, Eric. Thanks for joining us. I got a couple of the interns. It'd be remiss not to speak to some of the interns. I got Tatum and Bailey here. And tell me, why did you choose to go take an internship and look in this construction side of things?
So my dad owned a hardwood floor contracting company and a framing company, so kind of just seeing the doors that opened up for him. He was able to put my mom through med school doing that, so definitely an industry that's worth looking into.
Yeah, for sure. And Bailey, how about for yourself? What made you decide to go look at this route?
Yeah, I think just being out here, being on the job site, communicating with subcontractors, and honestly, seeing a house start from the ground and then finish into the finished product, and watching a family raise their kids, and just seeing the homeowner be happy and something that you were a part of, it's got a good amount of purpose to it.
And you got a job offer today, huh, out of this?
I did. So this is my second summer as an intern here at Taylor Morrison. And, last summer I was, able to see all the different departments: land acquisition, marketing, finance, permitting, construction, warranty. And then, this year I really like construction. So I've been out here for, 9 weeks or so. And, I was fortunate enough and very grateful to receive a job offer now at the end of the internship. And that'll kind of allow me to be more involved with this community. I'll be more involved with the subcontractors, helping handle any issues and making sure these homeowners are happy.
Yeah, that's great. And Tatum, tell me, for maybe some of the other folks that are your age and maybe watching this and maybe wondering about construction, maybe they think, have a stigma about it. What would you say to those folks?
It's definitely something worth taking a look at. There's plenty of jobs, and it's not a job that AI is going to take away from you. It's something that you always need real people in the field to fix these issues, because you could put a house through AI 20 times and there's going to be things that it's not going to catch because it's not putting eyes on it. It's not seeing what mistakes the trades are making, and that's what your job is. So it's a very safe job.
Absolutely, yeah, that's important too. A lot of people are worried about AI as well, and a lot of these jobs are AI proof, if you will. And so, again, important to really attract that younger workforce into the skilled trades, whether it's plumbing, electrical, construction. In this case, it's residential home building, and they are bringing in interns to do just that.
Chris, what an incredible opportunity for these interns, and congratulations there to Bailey, right? He said he got a job, so that's some good news for him. Well, Chris, thanks.
Yeah, absolutely. He's off to a good start.
Yes, Chris, yes. Thanks so much for joining us. We look forward to talking to you a little later today. Let's change the topic here and talk about food. So today marks the start of the most delicious week in the year for Buckhead. So Buckhead Restaurant Week runs today through August 1st. Fox 5's Paul Milliken stopped by Madre Selva to see what's on the menu.
Well, it is the most delicious week of the year in Buckhead. We wait for this week every single year. It is Buckhead Restaurant Week, and there are many new options on the menu this year, including this gorgeous restaurant, Madre Selva. And not only does it look beautiful in here, it tastes pretty good too. Denise and I have been enjoying yet another breakfast. What do you think of the food in here so far?
Oh my God, it has been so wonderful.
Right?
There's so many different tastes.
So good. The flavors are incredible. So again, Madre Selva, brand new this year, but you have a lot of new restaurants for Buckhead Restaurant Week this year.
We do. About a quarter of them are new. So there's so many new restaurants popping up all over the place that it's amazing.
Yeah, so this is something Livable Buckhead has done for 3 years now. Why do you guys do this? Why put on a restaurant week?
You know, it's really about showcasing the different experiences that you can have while you're here. We like to make sure you think of Buckhead as not only fun to live and work, but also eat.
Yeah, and there are such good restaurants. Like, the lineup is incredibly diverse, more than I think people would even imagine, right?
Yeah, we've got all different cuisines and also all different price points. That's one of the things that the fixed price menu really helps with that, so you know what to expect when you're going into the different places, and it takes down the barriers to trying something new.
I love that. So over here is the menu for Madre Selva. So you come in, you know exactly what you're going to pay, you know exactly what's on the menu, and you're getting sort of a sampling of the best of what that restaurant has to offer. So, Lindsay, tell me again, for folks that have never been here to Madre Selva, what can they expect? What is the cuisine style here?
So we are Latin coastal cuisine with a focus in Peruvian food. Peruvian cuisine is one of the most celebrated and one of the most diverse cuisines in the world. So we're so excited to get to bring a piece of that here to Atlanta.
Very cool. You were just telling me you guys had a really fun time during the World Cup in here this summer.
We did. We had brought these big screens out and we showed every nation, every game, and we brought DJs from all over.
Yeah, that's very cool. And okay, so in the corner back there is this bar. That is your ceviche bar. Very unique here in the city. What is that?
Yeah, so we're super excited to be the first ceviche bar in the city. A lot of people don't know that Peruvian food actually has a lot of influence from Japan, China, and Spain. So we have sushis, we have fresh ceviches, and fresh fish every single day.
Oh, that is amazing. All right, well, let's talk about the food on the table and on the menu for Restaurant Week. The executive chef, it's so great to see you, Myra. How are you?
Good, very good.
And you are from Peru,
Yes,
right?
I'm from Peru.
Wonderful. So I want to ask you about a few of the dishes we have not tried yet. First of all, what is this?
This is the chicken inferno. This is the very traditional chicken of Peru.
Okay.
Because in Madre Selva making in the josper. The josper is the grill. This grill we have it cooked at a high temperature.
Okay, so it's very hot in there. So that means it cooks pretty fast in there?
Yes, very faster in there.
And then you guys were telling me potatoes are very important in Peru. There are many different kinds of potatoes, right?
Yes, we have a lot of varieties, the potatoes of Peru. This variety is the guamantanga. The guamantanga is the very traditional potato of Peru. It's very creamy. When you eating, it's very creamy inside.
Oh, I cannot wait to try that. And then what is this over here?
This is the ocean vegan. This is the fried rice, okay? But we have it a lot vegetable. We have it mushroom, American corn, asparagus, big sprouts. Okay, cooked in the wok. The wok is the very traditional cuisine in Peru.
And so that's what we were just talking about, like those like Chinese, Japanese influences coming over. That's where the wok comes from.
Yes, Peru we have a lot of influence for the Chinese people and Japanese people.
Yeah,
yes.
I never knew that. That's interesting. And let me just tell you one more time. First of all, everything that I've tried has been so good. This right here,
yes.
The flavors in the look. I mean, you eat one of these, you don't need to eat for the rest of the week. It is so flavorful. So tell me one more time what this is.
This is the ceviche carretillero. It's very traditional in Peru. Everything in a strip, in the corners, the people serve to this one.
Yeah, it is gorgeous and it tastes so good. So thank you very much. This is why I love Denise Starling. Look, comes armed and ready to do some damage. So Denise, you dig in, I'm going to dig in too, and you all can dig in because Buckhead Restaurant Week runs through Saturday.
Oh my goodness, that looks so good. Making me hungry over here, but definitely participate in Buckhead Restaurant Week. Let's continue our conversation on food. So a beloved coffee shop is creating jobs and opportunities for refugees and immigrants. Our Eli Jordan joins us live from Refuge Coffee Co.'s newest location in Decatur. Eli, thanks so much for joining us.
Hey, good afternoon, Jasmine. Yeah, I am on North Druid Hills in Decatur in Lula Hills neighborhood at Refuge Coffee's 5th location. So what they're doing, it seems to be doing good. They got 5 locations, their flagship over in Clarkston. And right now I am with Hong Trong, who is the Director of Development here at Refuge Coffee. Hey, Hong, how you doing?
Hey, thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us. And, you guys have a big staff meeting of all the staff here in a few minutes, but hence why it's empty right now. But you get grand opening here at a 501c3 nonprofit coffee shop. All 5 locations are nonprofit. Tell me, what is your mission here?
Our mission is to use a delicious cup of coffee as a platform to create jobs for newly arrived refugees and other immigrant communities. We provide competitive wages, job training, and walking through the resettlement with them.
And right now, it's kind of a scary time for refugees and immigrants coming in. Tell me, have you guys felt any of that?
Oh, of course. We felt, in this unwelcoming time, we've taken all the precautions that we need to take to make sure our staff feels safe, valued, and seen, that they can continue to provide welcome to the community and our customers.
And so, this is the 5th location. Clarkston is where the flagship is. And so tell me about Clarkston is known for its immigrant community.
Yeah,
Right?
Clarkston is known as the most diverse square mile in America. It is our flagship location where we not only serve coffee, but it's kind of been the epicenter of a lot of the nonprofit good into the community.
And so when people come here and get themselves a cup of coffee or any other thing, pastry or whatever, those funds go directly to the wages to help out, the people working here, which are refugees, immigrants, right?
Right. To help them with their job training, to provide jobs. The money also helps us to expand, to create more jobs, to help more people.
So what kind of day you had? You had a grand opening this morning. How was that?
It was great. We're so excited about the Lula Hills development, and it's a redevelopment of the old North DeKalb Mall. And we're excited to bring our resettlement energy and staff here to create welcome for the Lula Hills development.
And it's cool you guys have repurposed this old gas station too, which gives it, it's a lot like the old Clarkston location of Refuge Coffee. Correct?
Yeah, we love gas stations, so that seems to be our thing.
Well, I mean, that's what coffee is. It's fuel for the human, I guess. Get your coffee and then go get gas for your car. So, what are your hours, real quick?
Our hours here at Lula Hills will be 6 to 5, Monday through Friday, and then 7 to 5, Saturday and Sundays.
Awesome. Well, Hong Kong, thank you very much. And Jasmine, that's what's been going on here. I mean, they have 5 locations, successful business model, helping out those who are, in need of a job who come over here, refugees, immigrants. And, Refuge Coffee says you don't have to live like a refugee. They provide jobs, taxpayer base, and all that stuff. They pay into the Social Security and the taxes. And you come down here and have a tasty cup of coffee, you'll be getting some good karma and enjoying some coffee and supporting your local business. Jasmine, back to you.
All right. What a great mission here. Eli, thanks so much for joining us to talk about the new coffee shop in Decatur. If you need some coffee, go stop by Refuge Coffee Co., new location in Decatur. Eli, thanks. Let's take another live look here. We know that the president is expected to speak soon in Michigan, Milford, Michigan. This is at the General Motors facility. Let's take that live. I know when we left off, they were still doing opening activities, doing the national anthem. Here is actually a live look of the president. So he's not inside the facility just yet. He's there speaking. And so just giving you that live picture there of him talking. So the president is expected to focus his speech today at the General Motors facility on manufacturing and job growth. He says his tax cuts protected 170,000 jobs in Michigan, crediting tariffs as the catalyst. And he will also be on hand to stump for Republican candidate for governor John James and U.S. Senate candidate Mike Rogers. That Michigan primary is August 4th. Although early voting there is already underway by mail. So here's a look at the facility now. We can listen in for a little bit.
Parental rights are optional and nuclear families are obsolete. When they create a state, when our young people are so indebted to their past that they're forced to rent their futures, when they teach victimhood in classrooms and build a culture where everyone is entitled to their own truth and no one's entitled to their own opinion, what's the point? Why stay in Michigan? To those young people, I offer a reply. You were created in God's image, bought at a price, and built for a purpose. You are an American. You have greatness in your DNA, and freedom is your birthright. I believe with all my heart that our young people don't want socialism. They just want the pain to stop. But the people in this room today understand something very important. We don't underestimate the appeal of socialism for those whom the status quo has failed. If the American dream is going to prevail, if we're going to defeat socialism, if we're going to save a generation, we can't just say socialism sucks and assume that people who suffered under Democrat rule in Michigan for the past 8 years will join us. We must show them something better. Together, one team, one fight. And together, we will show them a Michigan where quality education is a basic civil right and a sure pathway to hope and prosperity. We will show them a Michigan where an accident, an illness, or the cost of basic utilities doesn't leave a family in financial ruin. We will show them a Michigan that protects our communities from tyrants without leaving our children vulnerable to terrorists. We will show them a state where the son of a slave can become a sharecropper, the son of a sharecropper can become a mason, the son of a mason can become a truck driver, and the son of that truck driver can be standing before you here today in the state of Michigan, about to be Michigan's next governor. That is what's possible in our state. We will answer the socialist politics.
Again, this is a live look at this event here out of Milford, Michigan. The crowd there waiting, listening to the speaker here, but also waiting for President Trump to speak. This is the General Motors facility in Michigan, happening right now live. The president is expected to tout his handling of the economy, defend sweeping tariffs, and much more. So we'll bring this live to you when we can, when the president starts speaking. Our time here is 1:56. Our news continues right at 2 with our Tyler Fingert.
And here we go at 2 o'clock. Welcome to this Monday edition of Fox 5 News Live at 2. I'm Tyler Finger in for Ariel Onstadt. We have a busy afternoon, and remember, this is a news conversation, so join us in the comments on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, or TikTok, and we can talk about the news. If you have a question, we'll try to get it answered for you. Let's get to our top story, though, and that continues to be the sentencing of Colt Gray. You are looking at some video from earlier as the teenager who opened fire inside Apalachee High School back in 2024 returned to the courtroom today for the continuation of his sentencing hearing. Gray entered a non-negotiated guilty plea on Friday at the Barrow County Courthouse to all 55 charges. So all 55 charges he has pleaded guilty to. He avoided a criminal trial by doing this. And this morning we heard more evidence as we inch closer to hearing the judge's final decision for Colt. Defense witness, forensic psychologist Kevin Richards testified that Gray's household was troubled. He said on the stand that his parents were drug users and DFAX was involved in the home. Gray struggled with depression, anxiety, paranoia, and didn't make friends at Apalachee. He found a community online, according to that psychologist, with others who were into mass shootings, in particular school shootings. He then became obsessed with Parkland, Florida high school shooter Nicholas Cruz. So Richard says Gray is not a finished product, and if he received the proper treatment, he could get better. Let's listen to part of that testimony from this morning.
Yeah, I think so. Again, you're not talking about somebody who did this in their mid-20s, late 20s, or as an adult, when there could be characterological issues underlying that are kind of well developed. The personality is finished, the brain is finished, and sometimes if you end up in a situation with an older person where there's characterological issues that drive them to do things that are antisocial, there's sometimes not a lot you can do about that. I think when you're dealing with kids and adolescents, there's still some room before things are consolidated, before they're finished, before they're finished developing, you can intervene in a meaningful way to try and help them develop, more healthy coping skills or address some of those symptoms. So, yeah, sure.
And on cross-examination, Richards testified he believes that Gray has exaggerated some of his conditions. The prosecution noted that Nicholas Cruz's interview with investigators was very similar to Colt's. Both claimed to hear voices, and during Gray's confession, he told the investigator he has schizophrenia. And so on cross-examination, the forensic psychologist said he does not believe Gray has schizophrenia, and Judge Nicholas Prim will have to decide between the sentencing here. Basically, the only option for Colt's murder convictions will be life in prison with the possibility of parole, or life without parole. His father, Colin Gray, who was found guilty of murder earlier this year, will be sentenced on Thursday. We're going to continue to stay on top of both of these. And I should mention, coming up in about 30 minutes, we're going to be talking to a legal expert about what all of this means as we continue to await a decision from Judge Nicholas Prim in Barrow County. I want to get to some breaking news right now, just coming into our newsroom, and this has to do with the Nancy Guthrie case. Just within the last 30 minutes, Today's Show anchor Savannah Guthrie posted a new video on social media with a plea for her missing mom to be returned. This new video comes just under 6 months after investigators say Nancy Guthrie was taken against her will. You're looking at pictures from that doorbell camera that the FBI released months ago. Let's listen to that new video that Savannah Guthrie posted, again, just within the last about 30 minutes on Instagram.
I'm coming on today with a very specific message. It has been months since our mom was taken from us. Our family is in agony. We are in a nightmare that will not end. Nothing about our situation has changed. We have done our part, and we will never stop looking for her. We will always ache for her and feel that hole in our hearts. The world can be a cruel and unforgiving place, and I know that you have tried to do things the right way. So I'm asking you, begging you, to do the right thing now. Make the right choice. Help us find her. Tell us where to look for her. I truly believe it is never too late to do the right thing. Help us bring this situation to an end. For all of us, no matter where we've been and what we've done, I believe there is always a way home. Please make the right choice.
And so there is a $1 million reward to be able to bring Nancy Guthrie home. She was last seen at her Tucson area home at the end of January. As we come back into the newsroom now on this busy Monday afternoon, I want to talk about a story that broke over the weekend. We're getting a look at the moment 6 people were rescued from the Chattahoochee River on Saturday. This is video that you're looking at right now that was sent to us from Atlanta Fire Rescue, the Swiftwater Rescue Team. Atlanta firefighters deployed boats, drones, ground resources to rescue the 6 adults. And with more on the story, let's bring in our Ray Urena. He spoke to first responders today as they worked to make sure they could bring these people to safety. Ray, what did they have to tell you, and what can you tell us about how all of this unfolded?
Yeah, so Tyler, the Atlanta Fire Rescue firefighters, they tell us they were called at Saturday afternoon, kind of like in the early to late afternoon, because they had received a call that 6 people were trapped along an embankment here on the Chattahoochee River. And they said they got there when their inflatable raft, they didn't know if it was a tube or any other sort of inflatable raft, but that's when it popped. And we're here specifically in northwest Atlanta. Now, where you're looking at right now, we're off near the entrance of the East Palisades Trail, and it's been a very popular sort of place already. We've seen families out here. We've seen people walking their dogs. There's 2 people holding tubes right now as we speak. But over the weekend, firefighters say that they were dealing with a lot of heavy rain. You may remember that on Friday we got several inches of rain that impacted portions of northeast Georgia. Well, all the heavy rain, firefighters say, trickled into the river, and it caused the river currents to speed up faster than normal, and also potentially increase the E. coli levels in the river. So when this rescue was called out, they actually found these 6 people who were stranded underneath a bridge along the embankment of the Chattahoochee River. Thankfully, firefighters say that they had their cell phones with them, so it made finding them that much a little bit easier because they were able to communicate with the people who were stranded. But we talked to firefighters a little bit ago about more about this operation. Here's what Captain Andrew Anderson of Atlanta Fire Rescue had to say.
2 biggest things is to make sure that you have a life jacket when you go out on the Chattahoochee and have a good time, and avoid going out there after heavy rains. The speed of the water can increase, and the E. coli levels can increase.
Yeah, and thankfully no one was hurt, according to Captain Anderson, as a result of that Swiftwater rescue. And they say that this is probably one of the best case scenarios that you can have when it comes to a water rescue, having all 6 people rescued from underneath that bridge, boated back to this embankment, and Tyler, they were able to get back into their cars and go home safely.
Yeah, I mean, thankfully, these first responders were able to help them. I mean, I have to imagine they go through training like this continuously to make sure that they're ready. I mean, thankfully, we don't hear about stuff like this every single day in our area, but they go through training to make sure they're ready for this, right?
Absolutely, and that's one of the things that the firefighters were most proud of, is of that Swiftwater Rescue Team. If you do not know where they're based out of, they're based out of Atlantic Station. So they actually drove from Atlantic Station up here, and within 15 to 20 minutes, they were after conducting their investigations, talking with these people who were stranded, they were able to get to their precise location and get them back to safety. So a lot of them relied on the training of that Swiftwater Rescue Team, and because of that training, they were able to get these people back to safety in such a quick manner, Tyler.
Ray, thankfully they were able to do that and be there and help these people, or we could be looking at a different outcome. Ray, thanks so much for a look at that, and we'll let you get back to your story as we check in with you later on this afternoon at 4. As we continue on, let's talk about a story that is certainly trending online. This is one that caught my attention when I saw the push alert from our Fox Local app over the weekend. A Henry County man is recovering from surgery after he pushed his pregnant fiancée to safety and fought off a shark in Daytona Beach. That's in Florida, and it happened Saturday night. Jacory High and his fiancée were swimming in shallow water Saturday night when what is described as a medium-sized shark unexpectedly struck. High felt something sharp clamp onto his left leg and fought back as a rush of adrenaline took over. We were able to talk with him. Let's take a listen to what he had to say.
I realized right away it was a shark because the way it bit down on my foot was just in there swimming, but we wasn't deep. When the waves came, that's when it got to waist deep. And then that's when it yanked my leg, and I had to push my pregnant fiance towards the shore to get her out the way. That's when it got me, and then it came up and tried to get my arm, so I had to push it away from me, and then I ran and they tried to get my other leg. Like a whole bunch of blood coming out of my foot. It was just pouring blood. It didn't really mess up anything important in my foot, so I can go back to work.
Yeah, thankfully he was there to be able to help his fiance, or this could have been a different story. Marine life experts at the Georgia Aquarium note that unprovoked shark attacks remain rare, with only 60 to 65 recorded worldwide each year. And to help through his recovery, they have created a GoFundMe. You can head to our website, fox5atlanta.com. I should mention it does remain unclear if high sustained permanent damage to his foot that could impact his ability to return to work. Officials have also not confirmed the exact species of shark here, but certainly the fact that he's in the hospital recovering, that is some good news, because situations like this could be a lot worse. Thankfully, he was able to help his fiance. I want to talk about another story that is certainly trending right now, and it's just a little bit up the coast from Daytona Beach, and it's in Jacksonville. You're looking at video that was shared on Facebook over the weekend, and it is scary body camera video that shows the intense moments officers rescue a kidnapped 13-year-old girl from Georgia. Investigators say she was rescued from a Jacksonville motel room during a law enforcement operation. The Jacksonville Sheriff's Office body camera footage of the incident was posted on Friday. I want you to look, and I want to watch together as we take a look at this entire about 45-second piece of video that they shared with audio and everything. Let's listen together.
Over here. Come this way. How you doing? In the car. Block that in. Block that in. Block it. He's trying to run it. Oh, get out of the car. He said get inside that room. He said get inside that room. Whatever you got your doors open. Doors open. About the dumbest thing you could have done. Enjoy the next chapter of your life.
And so that is that dramatic body camera video that we were able to get from the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office that's down in Florida. And so we know that the 13-year-old girl, she was from Baxley, Georgia. So if you're not familiar, that's towards the southern part of our state. So maybe about an hour, hour and a half, 2 hours from the Jacksonville area. So not incredibly far at all. We should mention the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office said that its SWAT team assisted the FBI along with the Georgia Bureau of Investigation to be able to rescue the girl back on July 16th. You may remember this is that Amber Alert likely that was released just about 2 weeks ago or so that came to everyone's phone up in this area. I remember distinctly the Baxley little comment on there. Jonathan Kelly and Giovanni Carter are facing multiple charges according to the Sheriff's Office, and the FBI and Georgia Bureau of Investigation are leading the case as they look into all of this, and no additional details about the charges or about the girl have been released. Let's talk about this now. This is a story that broke over the weekend, and it has to do with Delta Airlines. Let's take a live look at the world's busiest airport on this Monday afternoon, which is home to Atlanta-based Delta Airlines. I want to tell you about some interesting reporting that came from the Wall Street Journal. So the outlet reported United Airlines approached Delta about a potential merger. According to the report, United CEO Scott Kirby contacted Delta CEO Ed Bastian last year, and Delta reportedly did preliminary due diligence, but talks went no further. A United spokesman told Fox Business it had, quote, nothing to share, and Delta declined to comment. So that is a story. Obviously, we know that United had talked with American earlier this year, and now we're learning from reporting from the Wall Street Journal that United apparently approached Delta. But again, no merger is apparently going to happen. Delta did some due diligence and ultimately determined that that was not going to be the best use of its resources to try to merge with another major airline here in the United States. I want to talk about a story that is certainly interesting to me, and as a wave of skilled construction workers nears retirement, a North Georgia internship program is introducing Gen Z to careers in the trades to help build the industry's future. Our Chris Rosenthal joins us live with more on the program, and you have your hard hat on, Chris.
I do have my hard hat on. I've gotten pretty comfortable in it here. So, yeah, I am at a construction site here, residential neighborhood being built here, Waite Farm in Cumming. And they, you know, like you're talking about, a lot of the skilled labor is expected to retire here in the next decade or so. They estimate about 40% retiring by 2031. And those jobs, they need to be refilled. And one way to really bring people in is with internships. And I have Eric here. He is with Taylor Morrison, the construction company here, and project manager. And tell me, what are you seeing here as far as the shortages and the demand for that skilled labor?
Yeah, I mean, we're definitely seeing the shortages, like you say. I mean, the average person on the job site now is averaging around 40 years old. So trying to bring in the next group of guys and ladies to come in and take over, whether it be in the construction management like we are, or, you know, one of our trades out here in the field that's actually doing the work.
And this internship, tell me about it. That's one of the strategies here to get people interested, huh?
Yeah, so we're hitting up with the different local colleges around. You got students that are doing construction management degrees, business management degrees, working with them to show them that there's a whole other side out here that, you know, a lot of people aren't aware of. Everybody thinks of construction management, they think of, you know, general commercial. So we're trying to introduce them to the residential market.
Yeah, is it, you know, I think there's sometimes a stigma with skilled labor jobs. Is it tough convincing Gen Z, younger generations to consider this as an industry?
It is, because I mean, like we've talked previously, you know, they all think it's working out in the heat, working in the dirt. There's a whole other side of it. We are the manager side, so we have the construction management. So, you know, we're managing the trades, the suppliers, the individuals that are out here. There is a whole other world to it.
Gotcha. And, you know, we have a couple of the interns here, actually, we have Bailey and Tatum. And, you know, Tatum, tell me, why did you choose construction here?
I really grew up around construction. My dad owned a hardwood floor company and a framing company before I was alive, and I saw that kind of put my mom through medical school, and it opened up a lot of doors for my family. So it's definitely something that's always been interesting for me.
And Bailey, same thing. I mean, why choose construction?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's just being able to be outside and you know, walk our houses and be able to handle problems with these other subcontractors, but also just seeing the houses start from the ground up. You know, you see a lot with no construction on it, and all of a sudden you have a family living in the house. I mean, that's pretty meaningful to me and purposeful, and it's just really cool to see.
What would you say to some of your peers who are maybe considering your career and maybe wouldn't think of construction, or maybe have, you know, like you said, a certain stigma about it?
Right, yeah. I mean, I would say come out here with an open mind. You know, it's more than just, you know, like we said, it's more than just swinging a hammer and doing the actual hard labor. You know, there's different avenues you can take. There's obviously construction. There's land acquisition, land development, warranty, marketing, finance. You know, that's a lot of departments within this world. And, you know, being in the internship program, I got the opportunity to see all these different departments. And, you know, I chose construction. And I would just say, yeah, have an open mind, ask a lot of questions. And, you know, a lot of these mentors around here, they're very receptive to all of it. So.
And want to congratulate you. This is actually your first day on the job. Just real quick, you just got hired out of your internship. Just real quick, tell me about that.
That's correct, yeah. So this is my second year as an intern, and like I said, and I just got the opportunity and grateful to receive a job offer for full time. And now I'll be put more in the ringer. You know, I'll be able to learn more, be able to handle this neighborhood a little bit, and start really building these houses.
Wonderful. All right. Well, thanks for joining us. Yeah, out here at Waite Farm, they are, you know, inspiring the next generation to get into the construction field. Back to you.
I mean, internships can be so valuable in so many ways. That's how I got my start in this. I'm sure that's how you got your start in this for many folks. And so being able to see it firsthand is going to be great for folks like Bailey and the interns there as they continue on in their search for what they're going to do going forward. Chris Rosenthal, thanks so much for joining us here on Fox 5 News Live at 2 o'clock. We'll check in with you in just about an hour. We still have a lot more ahead here on Fox 5 News Live at 2. We're back in 2 minutes. time now is 2:21 on this Monday afternoon. We're so glad you're here. I'm Tyler Fingert. As we continue on with our news conversation, let's talk about this story, and it has to do with a broken water main that caused a big mess for residents in one South Atlanta neighborhood this weekend. Our Annie Mapp is covering that story for us. She is live in that neighborhood and spoke to residents. Annie, what can you tell us?
Hey Tyler, good afternoon. Folks who live here in Peoplestown, not far from Haygood Avenue, say they are just frustrated with an issue that has been going on for years, and it all has to do with the pipe that keeps breaking here on the 160 block again of Haygood Avenue. This is an issue that is causing the roads to flood. It is causing water to just swarm people's yards and backyards and has caused a lot of issues, and folks say they just are not getting any assistance from the city. They say they call city officials when the incident happens, or they'll call 311. Crews will come out. Residents believe that temporary fixes or band-aids are being put on the pipe, and then months later the issue will happen again, and they are dealing with the ongoing water issues. They say this is causing thousands of dollars in damages to their properties. They say it's causing their homes to shift due to water being underneath the homes. You can probably see some of that video just of how serious this situation has been. Now again, people have reached out to city officials but say they are not getting much of a response on what a long-term solution could be in this situation. Some residents say they were told by representatives of watershed management that this is something that residents may have to fix privately with their own homes and properties to try to mitigate the situation and prevent so much water from coming into their yards. But it is frustrating for folks who say, they moved to the neighborhood because they loved it, but it has become a nightmare. Take a listen to what one neighbor told us.
You can't just sit out here with mosquitoes and stuff. That's why I end up getting that. You notice I'm the only one got the screen down because the bugs come. You can't even sit on the porch.
What do you want the city to do?
Fix it, stop it, and get it right, and give me a discount on my water bill.
Now, of course, I did reach out to Watershed Management here in the city of Atlanta, and right now we are waiting to hopefully get a response from them on what exactly is causing this pipe to continue breaking and to have all that water just flooding the streets and flooding the different yards. So we are waiting to hear back, and hopefully we will be able to provide some answers to these residents. Tyler?
So Annie, I probably have been in that area in Peoplestown. I can obviously see a lot of dirt behind you. I assume that is an asphalt road that is just covered in dirt, and that just kind of shows what these residents are having to deal with besides the flooding.
Yeah, I mean, we were in some of their yards just a little while ago, and it's a sunny day today. Those grounds are still very much saturated. I mean, people say they can't walk in their front yard without wearing rain boots just because of how muddy it is. And not only is it causing, it to be muddy, but they say they've also been dealing with mosquitoes as a result of all this sitting water, along with sometimes, sewage smells in the air. They say they're not even sure, what all is being transported in the water as it goes down this hill. So it's concerning, not only because they believe it could be a health hazard, but also because they think it's affecting their properties and causing damage.
Yeah, it sucks that they have to deal with that, and hopefully this can be fixed and rectified. I know you're working to get answers and working to help them out, and we'll check in with you throughout the afternoon as for our 4, 5, and 6 o'clock newscast. Annie Mapp in Peoplestown, thanks so much. Let's see if we can take a live look outside. That is a look at Mercedes-Benz Stadium, and it looks like possibly a Hornet or a fly of some sort flying around as well. So we're getting a twofer for this live shot right now as we started a little soggy this morning. I saw a few raindrops on my windshield in central Atlanta. As now you can see what appears to be some clouds scattered around, but there is some sunshine peeking in. Let's get a check of the forecast with Fox 5 Storm Team meteorologist Alex Forbes.
Yeah, so a lot of people saw a lot of wet weather this morning, and I heard all about it. And then I also heard from the people who didn't see anything at all and told me I was dead wrong. So we just checked all the boxes boxes this morning, right? So here's, what happened across the metro area. We saw a decent amount of rainfall in many locations, particularly southwest of the city, but then also there on the east side. This is a radar loop over the last, let's say, 6 hours or so. Some of the heavier showers out there, no doubt. It resulted in about 2,000 power outages here in the state. But look up towards the top of your screen. See that big red state up there? That is Illinois. Let me show you what's going on. Over 1 million people. In fact, that number has almost doubled since I set this about 10 minutes ago. Almost or over 1.5 million people now without power there in Illinois, about 82,000 there in Wisconsin. We've been tracking severe weather up there, numerous tornado warnings now moving into Indiana. Also have seen some warnings in and around the Milwaukee area. So if you have friends and family up in that area, or maybe you're watching from up there, it's no doubt a loud day as we look at this over the next couple of hours. Back here in the metro area, headed to 93 here in the city, 94 in Covington, 95 in Eatonton. Rain chance for the remainder of the day is going to be at about 30%, 20% for Tuesday and Wednesday. But not only does that rain chance go away for Thursday and Friday, but the humidity comes down. And that is going to be a key to our forecast, because that means the heat index numbers I'm about to show you are going to be short-lived. All right, so Tyler, prepare yourself for this. Are you ready?
No.
Tough. Tomorrow's heat index numbers here in Atlanta: 103 2 p.m., 104 4 p.m., 104 6 p.m. It is going to be a scorcher of an afternoon. Yes.
Can I just pause you? Because we have Jasmyn, who is directing the show, all excited about 104 degrees. I don't know who should be excited about that.
Well, we need a little Jasmyn cam, so you could do like a 3-box. But so because of that, the National Weather Service has responded with the heat advisory is in effect for most places tomorrow, with the exception of Northeast Georgia. Catch me in Clayton, because that is where I'm going to be. They are not in the heat advisory. All that to say, though, look, it's not going to be Antarctica up in Clayton. It's still going to be hot. You're just not quite up to that criteria. Temperature still in the 90s Thursday and Friday, so lower humidity there before rain chances are back in the picture for the weekend.
The humidity's back, but I mean, we have to come to expect it. It's almost August. Next week is the first week of August, so it's going to be hot. July and August are always the most uncomfortable months, I feel like, here in Georgia and North Georgia and pretty much anywhere in the South. So it's come to be expected.
Well, and consider this. You bring up a good point. It's the end of July. We have not hit 100 yet here in the city. At least in terms of an actual air temperature.
Heat index-wise?
No, we have heat index-wise, but air temperature-wise, this is the time of year that we would be 104, 105, 106 if we were going to do it, and we're not doing it. So,
well, I guess I would prefer the heat over like a storm of some sort coming our way. So let's hope, like, are we in the El Nino we were hearing a lot about? Let's hopefully.
The heat is a much easier work day for me than storms.
Well, apparently you got yelled at today for apparently being wrong in some places, but right in other places.
I'm not going to lie. It is really entertaining going through the comments section. I don't feel any one way or the other, because I see people making two very different comments about their two very different experiences. And I'm sitting there looking at it like, you guys are 7 miles apart. It's the lack of awareness of what's going on around them. That's like,
well, it's like growing up in South Florida. It's like on one side of the highway, it could be raining. On the other side of the highway, it may not be raining. And it was wild. You could be literally half the highway pouring rain. The other half could be like perfectly fine. And it was the funniest thing because I've experienced it before.
I've seen it here at Fox 5. It has been pouring in the front yard and dry as a bone in the backyard.
I want to see that one day. Alex, thanks so much. Let's see if we can show you some breaking news we're following right now out of Seattle. This appears to be a frozen shot. I'm not sure if we can see if we can. There it is. We're playing some video right now from the scene. So breaking right now, just within the last about 15-20 minutes, this came across the wire from the Associated Press. The Seattle mayor has said police have arrested a 15-year-old after a festival shooting that killed 3 people near the Space Needle yesterday. And so the teen is being held in juvenile detention for investigation of firearms violations and first-degree assault, and is due to appear in court later on this afternoon. Authorities are still looking for a second suspect. So here's what we know. So again, we know at least 3 people are dead and 4 others were wounded, including a toddler, after a shooting at the Bite of Seattle Food Festival on Sunday. Authorities say 2 people died at the scene, another one died at a local hospital, and meanwhile, the other survivors, surviving hospitalized victims, are in stable condition. Police say they believe 2 people were shooting at each other at the festival. They say 1 suspect is in custody, and they believe there is another outstanding suspect. And according to authorities, there is no immediate danger to the public in connection to this incident. Certainly a startling situation unfolding there, and Seattle police are urging witnesses to come forward with any information. As we continue on, I want to see if we can go overseas now and take you to Europe. So we had a massive heat wave over there in the beginning of June and mid-June and late June into July. It has just been absolutely catastrophic there. I was actually in southern France at the end of June, and it was one of their hottest days on record. Well, that heat has now led to wildfires, and we know that 250,000 people have been driven from their homes in France and Spain as a massive wildfires barrel towards some famous regions, including Bordeaux. That's the wine capital of France, with officials warning the fast-moving inferno has become so fierce it's creating its own winds and behaving erratically. French authorities ordered another 55,000 people to evacuate on Sunday from communities south of Bordeaux, bringing the total number of evacuees in the region to about 250,000. Video shows the intense firefight as firefighters try to battle the massive flames. I mean, just look at that. As we continue overseas, let's talk about the war in Iran now. So we know that hundreds of vessels are trapped in the Strait of Hormuz, and a maritime body overseen by the U.S. Navy said on Sunday that commercial shipping traffic in the strait is at a 3-week low. But there have been no confirmed new attacks in the last 72 hours, so that is some good news there. Iran says it is working with Oman to manage safe passages of ships in the critical waterway, and Tehran's foreign minister says that talks are making progress. Concerns about shipping through the strait and also the strait in the Red Sea continue to be a huge topic of concern right now as the war continues. Let's see if we can talk about this as well. I'll mention it real quick. So we know that the Ebola outbreak in the Congo unfortunately continues to be a problem. Well, the first volunteer in England receives an Ebola vaccine. So the human trial by the University of Oxford is hoping to accelerate efforts to fight the outbreak that is spreading in Uganda and the Democratic Republic of Congo. The early stage trial will measure the response to the vaccine in 50 healthy adults between the ages of 18 and 55. We still have a lot more ahead here on Fox 5 News Live at 2 o'clock. We're back in just 2 minutes. We're approaching 2:36 on this Monday afternoon. We're so glad you're here as we continue on. Let's get back to our top story, and that has to do with Colt Gray, the teenager who opened fire inside of Apalachee High School in September 2024. Well, he's back in court for his sentencing hearing, and I'm looking off to my side. I can see that the hearing just picked back up just within the last about half hour or so after lunch. Well, let me get you caught up. So Gray entered a non-negotiated guilty plea on Friday morning at the Barrow County Courthouse when he pled guilty to all 55 charges. And I want to talk about this case in depth. Joining us now is longtime criminal defense attorney and legal analyst Joshua Schiffer to help break down what we've been seeing in court. Obviously, this has been an incredibly long hearing, so there's a lot to digest here. Joshua, thanks for being here this afternoon.
Thanks so much, Tyler. It's an honor. And wow, this has not been like any other plea we've really had here in recent memory. Far more intense and detailed.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like normally when someone pleads guilty, we have this usually wrapped up in an hour or two. It seems like they're going through every piece of evidence, or at least a good amount of the evidence that they were planning to show at trial, at least the prosecution and clearly the defense as well, as presenting some additional details here. So what have we been seeing and what has been playing out today in court? I know a forensic psychologist has been on the stand for much of the day. What can you tell us about how this can play out into what the judge has to decide?
Well, like you were just saying, normally in a plea, these factual inquiries are handled at the front end. And in fact, when the hearing began on Friday, one of the novelties that I think everybody was pleased by was the apparent efficiency of establishing the facts the court needs to review in order to justify the change of plea from not guilty to guilty. In order to successfully enter a guilty plea in the United States, the defendant has to acknowledge there are facts sufficient to support the plea. Basically, if you're going to say I'm guilty, you have to agree there's enough facts to support that. And in order to accomplish that in an efficient manner, the state and defense actually got together, created a series of documents, and submitted that as a stipulation approved by both the state and the defense to Judge Prim, because that was going to save everybody a bunch of time. They weren't going to have to go through the tragic and traumatic details of these horrible deaths. It was going to make the process much more efficient and give more time for the victim witness statements, which did start and conclude last week. But at that point, as the plea has continued, we started hearing from state witnesses and now defense witnesses who have been brought up to assist the judge in contextualizing the issues involved in whether Colt Gray deserves life without parole or the horizon of some sort of future parole for murders committed as a juvenile.
Well, let's stop there for a second. So obviously we heard, as you mentioned, from families, their impact statements here. We heard from the people themselves, the victims themselves, the ones who survived. Now we're hearing from the forensic psychologist and things like that. How will this play a role in what the judge ends up deciding, whether he's going to get life with or without parole? Because that's essentially the only decision he has to make. I mean, is any of this actually going to play a role, or do you think Judge Prim, who is the chief judge in Barrow County, may have already made up his mind?
It depends on how cynical you want to view our system, because you've hit on a highlight. We all are acknowledging now that Colt Gray committed these absolutely horrible crimes. The punishment for any adult would obviously include life without parole. And then there's the issue of this being a juvenile. But at the same time, Judge Prim is a deeply experienced judicial officer who has overseen thousands of cases and trials. He is intimately tied to the community, as is his position designed for, and it's his sole discretion, after reviewing the appropriate burdens and standards and guidance from the rest of the courts, to decide. Does Colt Gray deserve life without parole for actions taken at 14, or does he deserve life without parole with the possibility of parole because of things specifically like the mental health mitigation and other factual matters that are being introduced during this portion of the sentence? So, has his mind been made up? Everybody's going to tell you no. His mind is going to remain open while he considers all of this relevant evidence and testimony, and it would be unethical for a judge or any other trier of fact to predetermine their judgment before interpreting and accepting and reviewing all of the evidence. Now, in all reality, Judge Prim has been thinking about this case for a long time, but none of us know what's going on in his mental activities. He may have decided one way or another a long time ago, but he's still going to ensure a perfect record that all of the process necessary for the court to receive the information and then pronounce a valid sentence have been met. Withstanding scrutiny is a big concern of everyone involved in this plea proceeding, because it's highly likely in 5, 10, 20, 30 years, future lawyers and judges are going to be reviewing exactly what's happening in court, right now. And that explains some of the detail and laborious work we're seeing kind of in a non-traditional way during this plea process.
Let's look forward a little bit. Obviously, we know that in some short due order, we're going to find out whether he's going to be sentenced to life with or without parole, whether it's today or whether it's tomorrow. It's supposed to happen within the next roughly 24 or so hours. So is there any legal options for Colt Gray to appeal a conviction in this case, since he's the one who pled guilty, or would it just be appealing maybe how his sentence turned out?
So any court proceeding, there's always a pathway for appeal. Whether it's mandatory that the court accept the appeal or whether it's discretionary, that depends on a number of different factors. But I won't be surprised at all for Mr. Gray through counsel at some point to appeal this plea process, if only to almost double check it. The calculation the court is going to be making, the mechanics of how the sentence is actually written down, transcribed into the record. There are 55 charges. It's not all going to be all 55 at the end of the day. Some of those charges merge. We need to talk about whether the judge is going to run some of these sentences concurrently or if they're going to be consecutive. Because if you're serving 4 life sentences concurrently, you're going to serve a very different time than if you were to serve 4 life sentences consecutively. So there's likely going to be an appeal of this process more than anything else.
And just quickly before we let you go, so what should people who are joining us right now here on Fox Local be on the lookout for when it comes to the remainder of this hearing, the sentencing hearing that's going on? Is there something that they should be watching the judge and looking at the judge as he's listening to this to before they find out what is going to happen?
I think anything that's going to really move the needle is going to be relatively apparent to all observers. It would have to be something rather groundbreaking for there to be really cognizant, oh, that's changing the equation. Other than that, the judge understood that he was going to hear advocacy from the state. And then on the defense side, it was going to be all contextualizing the mental health issues Colt Gray is using, not to excuse his criminal conduct, but to mitigate or explain how he was failed, how he was undertreated, how this could have been avoided in some sort of effort to keep that window of parole open at the final sentence.
Joshua Schiffer, thanks so much for joining us this afternoon, your expertise. We do really appreciate it, being able to break this down for us as we await the sentencing of Colt Gray. Again, really only 2 options, life with or without parole. I'm sure we'll be checking with you over the course of the next several days as we await the Colt Gray sentencing and also Colin Gray sentencing later this week. Thanks so much. Let's continue on here on this busy Monday afternoon and talk about this. So it's been 30 years since the deadly Centennial Olympic Park bombing. You're looking at video from 30 years ago. The bombing happened on July 27th, 1996 during the Summer Olympic Games held right here in Atlanta. 2 people died and more than 100 others were hurt. Security guard Richard Jewell noticed a suspicious package and alerted the GBI. He and other law enforcement cleared the area. Jewell was originally named as a person of interest in the bombing, but the FBI later cleared him. A plaque here at the park honors his heroics, and over the next 2 years, 2 more bombings went off in Atlanta, one at an abortion clinic and another at an LGBTQ bar. Authorities then named Eric Robert Rudolph as the Centennial Olympic Park bombing suspect back in 1998. He remained on the run until 2003, when police captured him in North Carolina. 2 years later, he pled guilty to all 3 Atlanta bombings. And then Rudolph is still alive today and is behind bars at a Colorado Supermax prison. And that is where he shall remain. Let's continue on and talk about another anniversary, a sad anniversary, and this has to do with Katie Janness. So Atlanta community members gathered at Piedmont Park last night for a vigil. Tomorrow marks 5 years after she and her dog were found brutally stabbed to death near a park entrance. The murder remains unsolved 5 years later, and after Janness and her dog were killed inside of the busy Atlanta park. And when the attack happened, security cameras in the park were not working, or at least the ones near the scene. And while the city has since expanded and upgraded surveillance cameras and coverage across the park, visitors and park goers still raise concerns about poor lighting. And so there's expected to be a documentary coming out as they focus on Katie Janness, who you're looking pictures at on your screen right now. And during the vigil, we spoke with a few of Janness's closest friends. Chip Powell worked with her and remembered her as a sweet person who loved to make people laugh. He also talked about the concerns of the killer still being on the run. Let's take a listen.
Someone's going to be killed. I mean, there's somebody out there that did something very violent to someone who is very sweet. Her dog was so sweet, and somebody did something that was so horrific, and that person has yet to be caught, and they're going to do it again. We know from the patterns and the history of killers that this could happen again, and if we don't catch them, there's some young woman out there who could be walking her dog that's going to meet the same fate. There's the fun and sweet side that people don't know about her from just looking at pictures or hearing stories or listening to her music, that she was actually like so fun and so sweet and so intelligent, and she would always like try to finish my crossword puzzle, which would make me very mad. And she would always bring to my husband the cheesiest of horror movies that you could ever think of, Lobster Man or whatever it was, and I would come home and he would be watching it and I was like, what in the hell is this? And he would be like, well, Katie suggested it. And I was like, oh my God. So, you know, Humanoids from the Deep, all these weird movies that you probably never heard of that you would go home and we would watch because Katie suggested them, and she loved cheesy horror because it made her laugh, and her laugh was very infectious. And I think anybody that knew her would know that every little thing that Katie did, like at work, not at work, was because she wanted to laugh.
And still, a suspect remains on the run at this point, and we have not gotten a name or a description of the person they're looking for 5 years after her brutal killing. We still have a lot more ahead here on Fox 5 News Live at 2 o'clock. We're back in just 2 minutes. And welcome back to Fox 5 News Live on this Monday afternoon. The time now 2:50. Let's continue on and talk about this. Georgia agriculture leaders and federal officials have announced a new partnership aimed at strengthening the state's agriculture industry. Our Deidre Dukes was at the news conference earlier today, or I guess I should say earlier this afternoon. It was held at about 1 o'clock or so. We watched it play out live on Live Now from Fox. And Deidre, what can you tell us about what was said and what the announcement was about?
That's right, and the backstage was a sod farm here in the area, the community of Whitesburg, here in Carroll County. That is where USDA Secretary Rollins and also our local state ag commissioner and other representatives, congressmen were on hand for this big announcement, and it pertains to cattle ranchers here in the state of Georgia. And it was announced that they are now part of a multi-million-dollar spur program. And what this program does is it really benefits and helps the small ranchers out there. There's a big conglomerate, I'd say a handful of cattle ranchers, big companies here in the United States our cattle, and because of that it really makes it harder, more difficult for the local small and mid-sized rancher. And so this program helps those ranchers really be able to get their foothold in to really make a difference and get their cattle out onto the market and make some money there. And so that's big news there for them. But also we had the opportunity to talk to Secretary Collins and also the state ag commissioner about the cyclospora epidemic that we're seeing here right now. That's really has consumers concerned. And while the FDA is the main agency, the main federal agency that oversees addressing this outbreak, really the USDA and also our state agriculture commissioner also working to assure the public that at the state and federal level they're doing everything they can to get a handle on this. And here's what they had to say.
Our food safety team obviously is out in the field every single day, monitoring for things like this to ensure that the food supply is safe. And you can have 100% confidence in American-grown, Georgia-grown product that is on the grocery store shelf. And that's why we encourage Americans and Georgians, when they go by, look for that Georgia-grown label, look for that American-grown label. And when you do, you can have confidence in that product, whether it's lettuce, cucumbers, squash, you name it, blueberries, peaches. I can keep going down the list. I'm going to leave somebody out if I do. But you can have confidence in that product. And as the Secretary mentioned, I think that is the distinction in this particular case. This is a product from Mexico. This is exactly the reason why we need investing in American producers, why we need to ensure that American farmers can be successful without relying on foreign sources of food. A nation that can't feed itself, can't sustain itself.
And again, the cyclospora outbreak traced back to, as we heard from the ag commissioner there, it traced back to produce, lettuce that was brought in from Mexico, that was imported from Mexico. And so they just wanted to make that clear that it was not produce that was grown here in the United States, and saying that is, again, Tyler, why it is so important that they continue to grow and to build up and support domestic produce here, domestic ranchers, things of that nature here in the U.S. to continue to make it possible for us to be able, as a country, to rely on our own sources of food here in the United States, so we don't have some of the issues that we've seen as a result of this outbreak.
I have a question. Did they mention anything about the fact that we have seen an increase in the number of people actually buying more local? I know last week we checked in with our Chris Rosenthal, who was up in the Cumming area, who said a local farm was seeing, a hydroponic farm was seeing a lot more people purchasing from them, and they were actually selling out at farmers markets. Did they talk about a little bit about how locals are actually benefiting from the cyclospora outbreak, despite the fact that obviously it's a very bad thing if people get sick from it?
You know, not so much how they are benefiting, but saying that it is so important that we use this opportunity, take this opportunity to shop local, as you said, to go to these different farms, things of that nature, the stands here in Georgia, and make the most of the local produce, great produce that we have here. So fortunate that we do live in a climate where we see some of the same produce that you can get shipped in, that we actually have it grown right here, locally sourced. And so they did say that it's really important and an opportunity to know that this food is safe, and then also a great opportunity to support our Georgia farmers.
Yeah, and in a lot of situations, it's a lot fresher, especially if you get it at like a farmer's market. Chances are it was either picked that day or the day before. Deidre Dukes, thanks so much for joining us. Talk about the partnership and also their response to the cyclospore outbreak and the recommendations to buy local. Before we go, I want to talk about this major story that broke over the weekend, and we're learning that Atlanta-based CNN will not have a change of ownership, at least for the time being. Paramount's proposed acquisition of Warner Brothers Discovery has been postponed due to pending lawsuits. Paramount said on Friday it is stalling its merger with Warner Brothers Discovery until as late as next summer. This comes after 12 state attorneys general and the Writers Guild of America, known as WGA, filed separate antitrust lawsuits against the company. So Paramount says it has agreed to not go through with the merger until June 2027. However, and there is a big however, the deal could be completed sooner if a federal judge rules on those lawsuits. The state attorney general and the WGA says that the proposed $110 billion deal would be monopolizing, and however, Paramount says the merger would expand opportunities within the entertainment field. New York Attorney General says that the halt is a, quote, critical victory to, quote, protect the film and television industries. Paramount says the delay is the, quote, clearest way to prove that this transaction is good for competition. And as we come back into our newsroom on this Monday afternoon, that is going to do it for us for Fox 5 News Live at 2. But don't go anywhere. We have a whole big newscast coming up in just a couple of minutes. My good friend Tom Haynes will be joining you with the latest headlines and also some more stories that we are working on here in the Atlanta area. He'll get you caught up at the top of the hour. Thanks so much for joining us for Fox 5 News Live at 2. I'm Tyler Fingert, and we'll be back in just about 2 minutes.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the 3 p.m. streaming hour on this Monday afternoon. So happy you're here with us today. I'm Tom Haynes, joining you live here in the Fox 5 Atlanta newsroom. Boy, we have a busy afternoon of news to get to. Not only our weather outside, did you hear all the thunder this morning? A lot of rain moved through the area, but it looks like we're going to dry out. The problem is it looks like we're going to endure a lot of heat this week. Meteorologist Alex Forbes will be along in just a couple of minutes to talk to us about the forecast and what we can expect as we move forward here. But we want to begin with breaking news, and that is the latest in the Colt Gray hearing, all right? The teenager who opened fire inside Apalachee High School back in September 2024 returned to court this morning for the continuation of his sentencing hearing. Now, Gray entered a non-negotiated guilty plea Friday morning at the Barrow County Courthouse when he pled guilty to all 55 charges. Gray avoided a criminal trial. This morning, we heard more evidence as we inch closer to hearing the judge's final decision for Colt. Defense witnesses, forensic psychologists, they all testified that Gray's household was troubled indeed. Remember, his father, Colin Gray, has already been convicted and is awaiting sentencing on being an accessory to this crime. He said on the stand that his parents were drug users and DFAX was involved in the home. Obviously, all of this pleading for mercy from the judge after this guilty plea. Gray struggled with depression, anxiety, paranoia, and didn't make friends at Apalachee High School. He found the community online with others into mass shootings, particularly school shootings, became obsessed with Parkland, Florida High School, and shooter Nicholas Cruz, a story that I traveled to on behalf of Fox 5 to cover for our television station here. Gray, not a finished product in the courtroom at all, as the judge continues to decide the sentencing here. And as we move forward, it'll be interesting to see how the victim impact statements affect the judge's decision.
Yeah, I think so. You know, again, you're not talking about somebody who did this in their mid-20s, late 20s, or as an adult, when there could be characterological issues underlying that are kind of well developed. The personality is finished, the brain is finished, and sometimes if you end up in a situation with an older person where there's characterological issues that drive them to do things that are antisocial, there's sometimes not a lot you can do about that. I think when you're dealing with kids and adolescents, there's still some room before things are consolidated, before they're finished, before they're finished developing, you can intervene in a meaningful way to try and help them develop, more healthy coping skills or address some of those symptoms. So, yeah, sure.
Right, that's a psychologist testifying in court today. On cross-examination, he testified that he believes Gray had exaggerated some of his conditions. The prosecution noted that Nicholas Cruz's interview with investigators was similar to Gray's, both hearing voices inside their head. Clearly, the defense has argued psychological issues with Colt Gray. During Gray's confession, he told the investigator he had schizophrenia. All right, so the judge is considering all of this as the trial moves forward today. We are basically on sentence watch at this point after all the victim impact statements and all the minutia that has to proceed in the courthouse today. We have another incredible story we want to report on this afternoon. A driverless car, a Waymo vehicle, catches fire in northeast Atlanta. Video from witnesses shows flames shooting out of the back of the vehicle off Cheshire Bridge Road in Metro Atlanta last night. Firefighters say they want more training on handling these types of calls. So our Rob DiRienzo decided to dig into this story live right near where that crash happened. Rob, what did you find out about the investigation so far?
More and more of these driverless cars all over Atlanta. So understandably, excuse me, I'm hearing myself here. So understandably, as we're seeing more and more of these cars, this situation freaked a lot of people out. You can actually see the spot in the road where that Waymo caught fire here on Cheshire Bridge Road. This was last night, and we have some incredible video we want to show it to you as well. Again, this happened right around Manchester Street here. Now, the Waymo police, or I should say Waymo, tells us that there was another car, a Jeep, traveling about 33 miles per hour, and it slammed into the back of that Waymo. They say, thankfully, no one was inside that car at the time. But as you can see, the flames shot out of that Waymo moments after that crash, and within a matter of minutes, it just grew into a ball of flames. Now, Atlanta Fire Rescue says 2 people were in that Jeep. One got burned, the other had a shoulder injury. But thankfully, there was no one inside that Waymo at the time. Now, a spokesperson for Waymo praised firefighters for their quick response. Their data shows, again, that car was turning left off of Cheshire Bridge when the Jeep rammed it from behind at 33 miles per hour. So if you're in a Waymo or riding along one, you got to wonder what would happen if you got into an accident. We talked to Atlanta Fire. Take a listen to what they had to say.
The absence of a driver changes some aspects of scene management, but it doesn't change our response priorities. Firefighters first confirm everyone is safely out the vehicle, secure the scene, and identify potential hazards and begin mitigation. And Waymo vehicles are fully autonomous, what they're called level 4. And these vehicles are designed to operate without a human driver in designated service areas.
Now, Atlanta firefighters have been trained on how to fight electric cars, specifically Waymo. And Tom, you're going to have to forgive me. I had to pull my earpiece out because I'm hearing myself right now. But as you can see back out here live, that charred remains in the roadway is what we're talking about right here. And it's understandably, again, pretty concerning for people. But Waymo's position here is that this was really the result of that Jeep slamming into the back of it. And they say that they are committing to training Atlanta Fire a little bit more, offering a refresher course of sorts of how to handle these types of situations. But they say they already have received hands-on training from Waymo in the past, including how to jump inside them and manually drive them out of the way. We've seen some viral videos of these things getting stuck at road closures and other police and first responder type scenes. So essentially, that's been the basis of their training. They want a little more on what to do in a situation like this, Tom. Again, I can't hear you, so I'll throw it back to you.
Hi, Rob D'Arienzo on Cheshire Bridge Road, the scene of where that Waymo situation happened. Rob, thanks. And firefighters sort of navigating how to handle Waymo fires, being alerted to the fact that they're even happening, what to do if you're inside a Waymo. I was in a Waymo not too long ago. We were going from point A to point B, and the vehicle took all kinds of weird routes to get there. And I wasn't sure where it was going. You can kind of follow along on the map in front of you because you do get a GPS to show you where the Waymo is going. But it can be a little, I don't want to say scary because that would be a bit of a stretch, but maybe uncertain. And so this situation will definitely be used not only by Waymo, but by fire rescue as sort of precedent as to what to do in the event of some kind of emergency inside one of these autonomous vehicles, because it's something that we're going to continue learning about as AI and automation continue to creep more and more into our everyday lives. We have just an incredible story, a Henry County man recovering this afternoon after he pushed his pregnant fiancée and fought off a shark in Daytona Beach on Saturday evening. So he's getting his fiancée out of the way. Jacory High and his fiancée swimming in shallow water Saturday evening when a medium-sized shark unexpectedly appears. This is down again in Daytona Beach on the east coast of Florida. High felt something sharp clamp onto his left leg and fought back as a rush of adrenaline then took over.
I realized right away it was a shark because the way it bit down on my foot. It was just in there swimming, but we wasn't deep. When the waves came, that's when it got to waist deep. And then that's when it yanked my leg, and I had to push my pregnant fiance towards the shore to get her out the way. That's when it got me, and then it came up and tried to get my arm, so I had to push it away from me, and then I ran, and it tried to get my other leg. Like a whole bunch of blood come out of my foot. It was just pouring blood. It didn't really mess up anything important in my foot, so I can go back to work.
So adrenaline takes over, instinct takes over to protect his pregnant wife. Marine life experts at the Georgia Aquarium note that unprovoked shark attacks remain rare, with only 60 to 65 recorded worldwide each year. to help through his recovery. We have an amazing sort of write-up, comprehensive write-up on this story on our website, fox5atlanta.com. It is a Fox 5 exclusive, so you won't hear about it on any other station, like a good part of the stories that we cover here. It remains unclear if he sustained permanent damage to his foot, like nerve damage inside his foot, that could impact his ability to turn to work. Officials have also not confirmed the exact species of shark involved. I'm looking over to my right now because we know President Trump is in Detroit, Michigan this afternoon to talk about the economy, to talk about auto manufacturing, to talk about bringing auto manufacturing back here to the United States. Let's dip in real quick. We're going to listen as the president takes the stage and ultimately the microphone. So let's listen in.
Well, thank you. Wow. Thank you very much. Well, thank you very much. It's an honor to be back. I love this place. I won this place. It's beautiful. This beautiful state. We won by a lot. Great to be back in Michigan, and hello to the men and women of General Motors. And before we begin, I have to say, so I had a wonderful father, right? And he was a hard worker. He was in the real estate business, and for him, super luxury. This is all he didn't want planes. They didn't have planes in those days, I don't think. He didn't want anything. You know what he wanted? A Cadillac every 2 years. This was to him the sign of luxury. This was the greatest thing. And he got every 2 years, like you could count on it. You could set your clocks by it. And by the way, speaking of that, let's get rid of daylight saving time stuff, okay? We have a bill in. Hopefully the Senate's going to approve that one. The House approved it, and we're going to get rid of that, just to mention, it's called the weave, right? We always get back to the right subject. But anyway, I did. I had a father, his luxury Mary, his super, that's all he wanted. He just wanted a brand new Cadillac, and I have to tell you a little secret. He had it stretched a little bit. This way he could be his own chauffeur. He wouldn't have to hire a chauffeur. He could drive it himself, or he could have somebody else, but he could also drive it himself. Did you ever hear that? This could be a new concept for a car. But I had a wonderful father, and he loved Cadillac, and I'm thrilled to be back in this beautiful state, and I'm honored to be the first sitting president to visit one of the most storied places in the history of American auto making, and that's the world-famous General Motors Proving Ground. And we just got back. We watched some cars, and they are beautiful cars, but I was also impressed with, that was the largest piece of asphalt I think I've ever seen. I've seen a lot of big asphalt, but I've never seen one that big. I said, you got to be kidding. But over 100 years, General Motors carved a 5.5-mile test track out of Michigan earth and built a crucible for American cars that would change the world, and that's what happened. You have changed the world, and maybe more importantly, you have made a comeback like very few companies. You are doing really well, and Mary and your whole group have done a fantastic job. They love their cars. One of the top executives I just met, he was showing, he said, sir, I just love the cars. I just love these cars. And I thought that was nice. This land bears the tire marks of every model of the legendary Chevy Corvette. It bears the scars of the first auto safety test, and that was probably pretty tough. And ever since the presidency of the late, great Ronald Reagan, who in all fairness, who I liked, but he did allow our cars to disappear into Japan and other locations. We cannot do it. We love him. But on trade, Trump is much better, much better. But this facility is proudly designed, built, and tested. The presidential limousine, affectionately known as the Beast. Have you heard of it, Mr. Mayor? I want to thank the CEO of General Motors, Mary Barra, as well as the president, Mark Royce, and the entire leadership team. Mark, really great job. The whole leadership team, the job that you've done over the last number of years especially has been incredible, and it's a display of speed and skill. Horsepower goes into these cars, and everyone's talking about General Motors, including me. That's why I'm here. And more importantly, thank you to the auto workers, the technicians, the mechanics, the welders, the engineers of General Motors, because there's no finer group of people. And it was workers like you who built this country, and now it's the men and women like you who are making it bigger, better, richer, and stronger than ever before. We are doing unbelievably well as a country. We're building more auto factories and more plants than at any time in the history of our country. And someday the fake news is going to be writing stories about it. They don't like to write those stories. That's why they call them the fake news. But for decades, the auto workers and manufacturers of this great state were sold out and betrayed by globalist politicians and corrupt special interests who let other countries steal your jobs, pillage your factories, and loot the crown jewels of American industry from Detroit and all over our country. They were ripping us off, not only in the auto business, but in many other businesses. Every president before me promised to stop it, but none of them did anything. They did nothing. But now, at long last, Michigan finally has a president who stands up for Michigan auto workers and puts America first. You know, you had a leader, I don't know if he's still with you, Sean Fain or something. This guy was bad news. I never spoke to him, never saw him. He was a Democrat. He thought that Biden or Kamala would be wonderful. You would have, Mary, I hate to say it, you wouldn't have an auto industry right now if they got elected. You wouldn't have an auto industry. But I don't know what happened to the guy. Somebody said he got fired, but I can tell you, the people that count, those people love Trump. Because I've done more for you than your parents, okay? Your parents are good. I'm not going to knock your parents, but I have been better to you than your parents. That I can tell you, and they would agree with me. Wherever they may be, they would agree. Today, I'm proud to say that the auto industry is back, and America is back, and it's pulling Detroit and Michigan along with it. Our country is so successful, it's pulling it along, but you have some great representatives that are going to become governor, senator, congressmen, women. But you have some great people. I'm going to mention them in a second. Because under Sleepy Joe Biden, hold it. What's better, Sleepy Joe Biden or Crooked Joe Biden? Let's go. Sleepy Joe Biden, Crooked Joe Biden. They're both true. They're both very true. The United States had the highest trade deficit ever recorded. So we had the worst trade deficit, and our country was losing more than $1 trillion a year on trade every single year, and it got worse and worse. And if they were in there now, that number would be close to $2 trillion. The trade deficit in automobiles was more than $300 billion annually. That means outside countries and companies were coming in and just robbing us blind. And it was causing tremendous problems for your jobs. But now all of that is changing because I placed historic tariffs on foreign producers and manufacturers, including a 25% tariff on foreign automobiles, something that no other president had the courage to ever do. He's a communist. He's a communist. Thank you. He's a communist. We're running against communists now. This is great. What's going on? But we're going to win very big. No, I didn't even hear the guy, I think. You see what they want to do? You see what they want to do? They want to take your houses. They want to do things that nobody's ever even thought of before. They want to take your money. They want to raise your tax up to 80%. I gave you the biggest tax cut in the history of our country, so we'll keep it that And I said this morning, they also want to fire the police. They don't want police and they don't want prisons anymore. I think that's a great idea. Does everybody like that idea? No police. They want no police and they want no prisons. Where are these people coming from? But I also put a 25% tariff on all foreign trucks. So I called Mary about a year ago, and I said, I hear that foreign trucks are killing us. She said, that's true. I said, congratulations. I'm going to put a 25% tariff on the foreign trucks. And you are doing a phenomenal business now with trucks. So they were killing us in trucks, and now we're killing them. My policy is simple. If you make your truck or your car in a foreign country, you have to pay for the privilege of sending it into our market and making a lot of money. But if you build in a factory in Michigan or someplace in our country and make your automobiles or trucks right here in America, you pay zero tax and zero tariff. You pay zero tariff. There are no tariffs. And we've taken in hundreds of billions of dollars for the country aside from it, but we keep a lot. As an example, Europe is being taken over by the Chinese cars. You know that, right? Mercedes-Benz is being absolutely decimated. BMW, good companies, decimated. Volkswagen, decimated. They don't do anything about it. We don't have, to the best of my knowledge, Mary.
President Trump speaking in Detroit, Michigan, at General Motors there, talking about tariffs, manufacturing, the economy. The president said he loves visiting Detroit, especially going to auto manufacturing plants like the one at GM. President has a raucous crowd behind him there when he talks about the direction of the economy. We're going to continue to monitor here in the Fox 5 Atlanta newsroom the president's remarks should he start talking about other news items that warrant coverage. Certainly the war in Iran and other things happening. We'll bring you back to Detroit, Michigan. When we come back, though, we got a weather situation out there we want to talk about. The rain and the thunder and lightning that moved through this morning has caused some damage in DeKalb County. Our photojournalist Eric Lynn just arrived at the scene of a tree that's come crashing down on one person's property. Eric is there live on the scene. Plus, we're going to check in with meteorologist Alex Forbes as to what the rest of this day is going to do, and then looking ahead into the work week as we continue. Good afternoon, everyone. On this Monday afternoon, I'm Tom Haines with you live here for the 3 p.m. streaming hour on Fox Local. So happy you're with us this afternoon. Want to take you live outside now for a look across downtown Atlanta. Some clouds left over, hazy sunshine popping through, but that wasn't the case this morning when some rain and thunderstorms rolled through our area. In one instance in DeKalb County, causing some significant damage. Let's get out to our photojournalist, Eric Lynn, who is live for us on the scene where this all happened. Eric, so you're on assignment for us here this afternoon at 3 p.m., and you're standing in front of what is the aftermath of this massive tree down. Looks like it crashed into that home and on top of that car. Hopefully nobody was injured here.
Yeah, that's right, Tom. There was nobody injured here today in the 4300 block of All Good Way here in the Stone Mountain part of DeKalb County. This happened about 11 a.m. when this tree fell onto the carport and damaged part of the house. There are two cars under that carport, which you cannot see, that are damaged. The car in front of you just has some light damage from the tree branches falling on it. This occurred, like I said, about 11 a.m. this morning. According to the resident, Mrs. Jackson, there was really no wind or rain at that exact moment, but she heard a loud explosion and went outside and thought that there may have been a gas explosion or something, and then she saw the tree on the house. And so right now, the Jackson family can still live in the house, but they're waiting on a tree company to remove the tree and find out how badly damaged the two cars are under the carport. The interesting thing that Mrs. Jackson told me was that about that time of day, normally her and her husband, who are in their late 70s, early 80s, are running errands. And she said, by quote, by the grace of God, this morning they did not go out to run any errands. So that probably saved their lives, Tom.
Yeah, it's incredible, Eric. When one of these comes down, and I don't know if you've ever heard one of these gigantic trees hit the ground, but it is extremely unsettling. You hope that nobody was hurt, and thank God that nobody inside that home was injured, and that this, as you said, the vehicle in front of you escaped with only minor injuries here. Hard to believe when we're looking at your live pictures, but tell us about the surrounding area. I mean, did folks lose power in that neighborhood? And who are these folks kind of walking around the property in front of you?
One is from the tree cutting company. The other is the homeowner's son or grandson, I think it is. I think it's their son. And so they're just helping out their parents, being a little older, get things organized and be able to get this tree removed as quick as possible. Luckily, this did not fall towards any power lines or cable lines. It did fall from a neighbor's property into their property. And as you well know, over the years, Tom, if a tree falls from your neighbor's house onto your house, the neighbor's usually not responsible because it's an act of God. So the family here, the Jackson family, is going to have to, through insurance, pay for this tree removal and all the repairs that need to be made to their house.
Eric, have you ever had a chance to talk to the woman who lives inside that home? Maybe she didn't want to go on camera, but has she sort of emerged from that house, and what kind of condition is she in?
She's in excellent condition, as is her husband. I did conduct an interview before I came on with you, and my colleague Angelique Proctor will bring more of a detailed story in the later newscast this evening on Fox 5 and Fox Local.
All right, great work for us. Photojournalist Eric Lynn, as you and Angelique kind of work this story, tag teaming together, talking to those residents who must be at the very least, Eric, shaken up this afternoon. Eric Lynn, thanks so much. Joined by meteorologist Alex Forbes, who's been watching this with me, yeah. Alex. In a situation like this, either the ground was just soaking wet and that tree was primed to come down, or they got a pretty serious wind gust in there.
Right, and so, yesterday morning, we started talking about the chance for storms today. We had kept today pretty dry, and we saw the possibility of what's called an MCS type system come through our forecast.
Translation?
It's a large cluster of storms.
Okay.
Is actually the very technical definition. But what I want to do is take you over to Fox 5 Live Viper and show you essentially what happened. This is what's going on right now, but let me zoom out and let me go back let's just go back 12 hours, right? So you go into the past and look up towards Tennessee and Kentucky, right? You saw this cluster of severe storms. Now, what ended up happening is those dove down pretty much into Alabama. There was the chance that they come like this, but they took on more of a southerly component. However, when they did that, We got an outflow from those storms. There you go across northern Georgia, and that's what fired up the storm that eventually dropped the tree there in Stone Mountain. So, I had a lot of people in my comments on Facebook. Half of them were saying, thank you, spot on. It stormed at my house this morning. And the other half were saying you were dead wrong. You've got no idea what you're talking about.
Is that called the 50-50?
It is.
Okay.
Yes, and they're about 5 miles away from each other. That's actually, believe it or not, like one of my favorite things to do is go look at their locations and see how far away they are.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was what we saw throughout really the last several hours. Now, it's hot outside. Take a look at your heat index numbers. Woo! 104 in Canton, 100 in Athens, 95 in Eatonton. This is where we are right now. And if you think that's hot, just wait till you see tomorrow. Now let's take off a couple of degrees. Those are your actual temperatures. But remember, when it comes to heat stroke and heat exhaustion and all the stuff, it's the heat index that matters. 88 with a storm down over West Point Lake right now. Other than that, most of us are quiet across the metro area. Still looking for 93 here in the city before the day is over. 95 in Eatonton, 94 in Athens, and 91 up in Dalton. But I do have a heat advisory for tomorrow. Heat index values 105 to 110 for multiple hours. Let's go through a couple of cities here. This is going to be Atlanta first. What we're going to see is, from say 1 p.m. to 7 p.m. feeling like it's 100 plus. Eatonton, even earlier than that, right? Most of the afternoon there, 103, 106, 107. How about Rome, typically one of our hotter spots, getting up to about 109. LaGrange down south, still hot, 105, but at least it's not 109, right, into the afternoon. Keeping a 20-ish% chance of rain for tomorrow, 20% on Wednesday as well. Completely dry on Thursday and Friday, and that is actually going to come with some lower humidity. So that 89 is going to be a dry 89 on Thursday, but we'll be back to the shower and storm activity by Saturday and Sunday here in the metro area. One more thing to throw at you. Been talking about the Canadian wildfires over the last couple of weeks.
Right.
Kind of fell out of the headlines. Well, it's going to be in our headlines, I think, tomorrow. We're going to see a haze across northern Georgia. You're not going to be able to smell smoke at the surface. You're also not going to see any impacts to our air quality because that smoke is going to be in the really upper levels of our atmosphere, but that haze is going to be present.
I was in Washington, D.C. last weekend visiting my mother, and it was so bad that people were...
Can you smell it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So not this past weekend, but the weekend before.
Yeah.
People wear masks. People with asthma, breathing problems, were all being affected by this smoke coming down from Canada. Not going to be like that here, however.
No, it's going to stay up high. It's not going to be down at the surface.
All right. And the heat index numbers that you showed us, because they're in opposition to what we're seeing here, but that's just like what you guys call the feels like?
Right. So that factors in the humidity. And what the heat index does is tell you the impact on the human body, right? If a 95-degree temperature with no humidity has a very different impact than with humidity. And it all has to do with your ability to sweat, right? When it's really dry outside, you can sweat a lot, you can keep yourself cool. When it's wet outside, you sweat, but it doesn't evaporate, which prevents more sweat from forming, which keeps your internal temperature higher.
Very, very interesting. So it looks like just a hot week ahead, and then as we roll into next weekend, another chance for some
showers and storms.
Showers and storms. Meteorologist Alex Forbes watching it for us this week. Alex, thanks so much. I want to take you now to our Doug Evans. Probably won't take his shot full, although he just got up from his chair. You see Doug right down there in our little preview shot. Doug just got up and went somewhere. So while he does that, you mentioned Eatonton a second ago, and it's because that area is so we're all landlocked here, but I always feel like it's hotter out in lake country. Is that because the elevation is lower down there?
Two things. One, you're a little closer to the coast.
Yeah.
The spot where the elevation is actually lower, and the reason why it runs hotter, and it is a city you probably won't expect. It's Rome. Rome sits lower than Atlanta does, right? They get up 107, 109. That's why they run warmer. So using your logic, I gave you a different city.
Okay.
As an answer.
Not Eatonton, but Rome.
Rome, yeah.
Okay, fair enough. But it always does seem hotter out there, even though we're in what you guys refer to as the urban heat island.
Yes.
So go figure.
Yep.
Going to dip back into the president now, still speaking in Detroit, Michigan, about all things the economy. The president is at a General Motors plant. Let's dip back into the speech and check in with President Trump.
I apologize for the air conditioning, but this room was not built for thousands of people. This room was built for a few people making cars, not for thousands of people. And it is a little warm up here, but I love that because every time I make a speech, I lose weight. It's wonderful. It's a wonderful way to lose weight. Under our leadership, investment is booming, incomes are rising, and the stock market has 73 all-time highs. Think of that. In a year and a half, we've had an all-time high. And your 401ks are up by $32,000 and more in just a year. And one statistic that I say, because, you know, the fake news, the reason they're fake news, they're terrible people in many cases, not in all cases. You have some professionals, but they refuse to say there are more Americans working today in the United States of America than at any time in history. How about that? That, to me, that's a stat that's hard. And it was just announced that inflation is dropping at the fastest rate in more than 6 years. We're dropping it. You know, I inherited this mess. I inherited an open border where 25 million people came in. Many of these people were criminals, murderers, people from jails, people from mental institutions. I inherited that. We've got a lot of them out, and we're getting a lot of them out. We have to. We have 11,888 are murderers, many of whom, they say more than 50% of whom killed more than one person. We don't want them in this country. They allowed them to come in through the stupid open border. They came in like water. You've seen it. And right now, it was just announced, again, this is now the 15th month in a row.
All right, we've been listening to President Trump in Detroit, Michigan. The president on the road today up in Michigan touting the economy, the effect of tariffs on companies like General Motors, truck manufacturing. The president just talking about immigration and border enforcement. So we're going to continue to listen to the remarks of President Trump as he speaks in Michigan. We're particularly listening to news not only on the economy and other important matters, but the situation in Iran. Remember, there's been a de-escalation of tensions over there, albeit brief. Okay, the past couple of days, there's been a wind down in the amount of fire and returned fire between the two sides. Word that there may be some negotiations happening. That sent the stocks higher today. The Dow Jones at one point at the open reached over 600 points, now up about 250. So markets liking what's happening in the Middle East, and that's why I keep listening into the president to see what he has to say about tensions in the Middle East. We're going to take a quick break and be right back. All right, welcome back to the 3 p.m. streaming hour here on Fox Local. It's been a really busy afternoon of news. Thanks so much for sticking with us today. I want to get right out to our Doug Evans, who's been patiently waiting with us here as we've been talking about what the president's doing up in Michigan. We've been up in DeKalb County where a tree fell down, Doug. But we do want to talk about a guy that you met and are profiling this afternoon. He's 42 years old. He's from Fayetteville. Helping to mentor cancer patients after an incredible accomplishment in and of himself following treatment for advanced colon cancer. This guy ran an Ironman, pretty spectacular given the headwinds that were blowing against this guy. Tell us more about him.
Hey, good afternoon, Tom. Well, as you know, an Ironman is a triathlon, and it is for elite athletes, right? We're talking, it's a total of 140.6 miles. Listen to this. It's a 112-mile bike ride, but first comes a 2.4-mile swim, then that bike ride, and then a 26.2-mile run. It is for the top of the top athletes, triathletes in the world. And this guy, Aaron Wright, 42 years old, as you said, Tom, from Fayetteville, that was his life. That's who he was until he got diagnosed with cancer in 2022. Not just cancer, but colon cancer, and it was advanced colon cancer. Aaron tells me that the tumor was large. It had burst through his colon. His cancer had spread to other parts of his body, including his lymph nodes, multiple surgery, chemotherapy, and yet he was able to participate in this Ironman, finish it, in fact, 16 months after his therapy had ended. His grandfather, who first introduced him to Ironman at the age of 12 and oversaw his fitness regimen for many, many years as a coach and mentor, was at the finish line to welcome him and celebrate this accomplishment with him. Let's hear from Aaron about not just his cancer, but his journey through that and what it took to get back into that kind of shape.
Was at the gym very frequently. I did a triathlon less than a week after one of my chemo sessions up in Chattanooga. It was maybe not the wisest decision. I almost drowned because it damages your nerves and makes you cramp. And so I cramped in the water. I ended up surviving and finishing. Wasn't very fast, but I did triathlon throughout my cancer journey just as a way to maintain purpose. I worked through it at the same time. I didn't want to be a victim. I wanted to not let it beat me. I didn't want to give it an inch of my life that I didn't absolutely have to.
And then you said, was it 14 months or 16 months?
16 months almost, yep.
To your first Ironman.
Yep. I did. My grandfather, who's one of my mentors and one of my heroes, he took me to an Ironman in Panama City, Florida when I was 12 years old, which started me on the Ironman journey instead of the baseball journey, let's say. And so he promised me, he said, if you do another Ironman, I'm going to come down and I'm going to support you in it. So we chose Panama City Ironman, where he took me when I was 12. And I built back my fitness from being 40 pounds down from where I am to back up to race weight and waist fitness, and completed the Florida Ironman last year in November. It was pretty cool.
What was it like to have him at the finish line?
Oh man, I cried for like 5 minutes afterwards. He came over, he gave me a big hug, and we just stood there, and it was a very, very special moment to have him there, both as my grandfather and as my coach and mentor, and also just that meant that, at least to me, for that part of my life was done. That chapter was closed.
City after introducing him to Ironman. He was just 12 years old, and so it was a very special moment for him, Tom. Tom, he is now a mentor for cancer patients who are going through their own journey. Aaron Wright doesn't expect you to be an Ironman competitor, but he's there to help and offer his encouragement and his wisdom and his story to help you get back to whoever you are, right? And he said, if you're a mom, if you're a dad, if you're a doctor, if you're a teacher, whatever, he's there to help cancer patients find who they were before their journey started, and hoping that his own story might help do that and inspire others as well.
I don't know that you'll find anyone more inspirational, Doug, especially given what he's gone through as it relates to cancer, getting chemo, and then on the same day he gets chemo, he goes out and does an Ironman. What he said probably wasn't a great idea, but he did it anyway. It's cancer is such a non-discriminating disease, right? It can hit anyone at any time, no matter. I mean, look at this guy. He's like the model of health, good-looking guy, and then he's struck with this devastating disease. But it's all according to how you handle it, I guess. And he decided to take matters into his own hands and not only continue doing these Ironmans, but then use his experience to motivate others.
Yeah, and Tom, I recall a conversation that you and I had here on Fox Local just a few months ago when I profiled another young man, also in his 30s, who was diagnosed with colon cancer. The purpose of that story was doctors were alarmed by the number of people in their 30s who are now getting colon cancer. And colon cancer is the leading cause of death, the leading cause of all types of death among people under the age of 50. Isn't that incredible?
Yeah.
The number of people under 40, the number of people under 40 that are getting colon cancer is rising 3 to 4% a year. And as you say, here's a guy, model of fitness, right? Has a good attitude about his life and everything else. And then he is, boom, struck down with this devastating diagnosis.
Yeah, well, we wish Aaron Wright well on his journey, good health, and we're grateful that he's using his experience to help others. Doug Evans with an incredible story for us this afternoon. Doug, thanks so much. As we continue here, still a lot to get to as we round out the bottom of the hour here. We sent our Chris Rosenthal out to talk to us about this wave of skilled construction workers who are nearing retirement and an internship program that's introducing the next generation to what they do. Skilled trade is awesome. It's almost guaranteed income if you're good at what you do. So we're going to check in with Chris when we come back. Welcome back, everybody. We're talking about that wave of skilled construction workers who are nearing retirement. Well, a North Georgia internship program introducing Gen Z to careers in the trades to help build the industry's future. So out with them, in with the new. And let's get out to Chris Rosenthal to demonstrate really what we're talking about. The handing of the baton, so to speak, Chris.
The handing of the baton, that's right. You know, we talk a lot about the skilled trades, and estimates are that by 2031 in the construction workforce, about 40% of that workforce is going to be retiring. And so they need more and more workers to come in and fill in the, come up behind them and fill it up, and just not enough now. So that's why Taylor Morrison has this internship program, and I'm at Waite Farm, one of their developments here, where some of those interns have been working and studying up and learning, and we'll introduce them in a minute. But I spoke earlier with Ronnie Klein. He is with Taylor Morrison, a little bit more about this program and the shortage that we have. Let's take a listen.
So what we see right now is, as right now the market is a little bit slower now. So right now skilled labor is pretty good. But as soon as the economy starts to turn, you'll see the shortage come very quickly. So getting skilled labor in is super, super important to us right now. And there's organizations out there that support that, like Building Talent Foundation. They bring in a lot of skilled workers to us, builders, especially residential builders. And also the Greater Atlanta Home Builder Association does the same thing. So we support with them to help out the market.
And you guys started an internship program here. Tell me about the internship here.
So the internship program in Atlanta, it's really bigger than just Atlanta. So this actually is supported by our corporate, which comes out of Phoenix, Arizona. This year we did around 20 to 30 students. The economy is a little bit slower, but in the past we've done up to 60. It's a really good program. We take the young men and women out to Phoenix, and they go through an immersion training by our corporate. So they're going to get finance help, purchasing help, construction. So they cover all aspects of the business while they're out there. In Atlanta, we spend a lot of time making sure that the students know where they want to go in life. So we find a lot of times they may not know exactly what direction that they want to go. But with this program, we will put them in purchasing for a little while. We'll put them in construction for a while until they kind of figure out their path, land acquisition, land development, finance. So they'll spend a little time in each department just learning the direction of life that they want to go.
Yeah, and there's lots of different directions there, and I think there's often a stigma with the skilled trades. And what would you say to people as they think about that?
There's a lot of different paths that you can go down. I mean, you need people to frame, you need people to do siding work, you need people out there, putting plumbing in, but that's not all there is to the business.
Yeah, there really are so many, just such a variety of jobs, and jobs you may not have thought of. And I actually have a couple of those interns here with me. I have Tatum and Bailey. Guys, nice to meet you guys here. And Tatum, tell me why, for you go to Reinhardt College, right? And tell me why did you choose to try out construction here?
I chose to go into construction because I kind of grew up seeing my dad owning a hardwood floor contracting company and a framing business. And then as I got older, he became a handyman, and so I spent my summers working with him, and that kind of led me into it.
And what do you think you might want to do in the industry here?
I want to be a builder starting out. I might work my way up. That's always the goal, end up in an office one day, but I like it out here.
And how about yourself, Bailey? Tell me why did you choose construction?
Yes, I think the biggest thing for me is being able to be outside and talk with all these subcontractors and handle issues that come up on every day. But just being able to see a house start from the very beginning, from the ground, before there's any construction, all the way to the finished product. Right when the family moves in, and you see them raising kids, and that's got a lot of purpose to it. And I think that's the thing that kind of drew me to it. So.
And you actually congratulate you. You got a job today already out of this internship, huh?
Yes, sir, I did. Fortunately enough, I was able to receive a job offer. This is my second summer as an intern. I started last year. I got to see all the different departments, land acquisition, land development, warranty, marketing, finance, permitting. And I got to see how all those work together with construction. And I decided, construction is where I want to be. Got to come back for a second summer, And being an intern and the whole internship program as a whole at Taylor Morrison was a good bridge to fill between going from a college graduate and student moving into the professional world. And they were able to move me along and, kind of funnel me into it very well. And, just being able to, ask a lot of questions, learn a lot, they were super receptive to that. So.
And on site, and you've gotten to really kind of try a little bit of everything, huh?
Right. Yeah, I'm out here, I'm walking houses. Like I said, I'm talking with different subcontractors, helping the house stay on schedule and on target to be able to meet certain deadlines, certain dates, and keep the customer satisfied.
And Tanner, what would you say, to some of your peers who, may have certain thoughts or a certain stigma about the construction industry, and would you encourage them to go into it?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a lot of fun to be out here. There's nothing like being out and walking around outside all day, basically your job is to tell other people what to do and you don't have to sit down at a desk. And this is definitely a job that AI will never take over. So
yeah, that's definitely a big concern. And I understand you're kind of going into sort of project management end of it, huh?
Yeah, so my major is project management over at Reinhardt University. And so that's kind of more of the upper management side, but you got to start somewhere. So
good place to start. So guys, thanks for joining us. Thanks for telling us a little bit about your story here. And again, the skilled trades, the skilled labor, these are jobs that are people are retiring. They are going to be a lot more openings coming up. And as always, when there's demand, there's also very good paying jobs as well. So, and hopefully some of these interns can get in on that. Sounds like they're off to a good start already.
Chris, it's just an incredible opportunity for these kids to learn hands-on about the skilled trade through internships like this. Reminds me of the internships I used to do when I was in college, but I wasn't out on construction sites. I was in newsrooms, but I got to get my hands dirty back in those days when they actually allowed interns to do things like run tape, run teleprompter, camera. And it sounds like these guys out in the field where you are getting that same kind of experience. And the young man that you just spoke to, was it Tatum, who just got a job today. Congrats. I mean, that is so great to hear. And hats off to those guys who are out there learning how to do a skilled trade. Chris Rosenthal, live for us this afternoon on the construction site. Chris, thanks so much. And thank you for joining us for the 3 p.m. streaming hour. It's been a really busy afternoon of news. Thanks so much for sticking with us. Don't go anywhere, though. The news is going to continue right here, right now.